Oh, I got to
Am I
teach you about Zoom there, Jeff, when you get a chance.
okay? Doing it right? Oh, okay.
Yeah, yes, you're good.
Okay. Yeah, I
So
guess I'm. So you can see it.
yes, we can see it.
Okay. Okay.
And
Well, everybody,
Jeff,
we'll
real
get
quick, Jeff, real quick. Donnie's not going to be on long, so I want to get him.
right. Well, that's why I wanted to start. Just talk for everybody, and if we got people that are coming in, we just wanted to kind of go over this meeting to kind of set the agenda for moving forward. We thank everybody who is obviously joined, and we will be kind of want to set the agenda for the coming year in the process. But what we want to go over was some informational stuff, mostly that would help individuals kind of learn more about our organization and what our agenda is for the coming year. Again, my name is Jeffrey Rutledge. I'm one of the board interpreters for IAABO for 267, and Clarence Cooper is also one of our interpreters as well. Tyreek Lucas is here, who will be probably one of our maybe probably president or something running the organization or kind of the lead of it. But we also have Donnie Epley here, and we want to take advantage of the time that he is here because he's a busy man. But we wanted to have him kind of say hello to everybody and go over whatever agenda that he or anything he wants to talk about for the short period of time because he's got to be in Phoenix for the Final Four in the next couple of days. So, Donnie, I'll let you have the floor right now if you take whatever time you need to discuss whatever you think is important.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff and Clarence. This is really impromptu for me, and I don't know how good I'll be. So just bear with me because I'll probably be jumping all over the place as I'm speaking here. So want to thank everybody for joining Board 267 in Chicago. It's exciting times for us in IAABO as we're expanding. We're also getting ready to start boards in Ohio, California, and Florida. And we've expanded also in South Carolina. So we've got over 15,000 members worldwide. And we think we are the premier training education organization. And we know that we are one of the oldest, having been established over 100 years ago in 1921. There are only 2 full-time employees for IAABO. That's myself and Felix Adio. And then we have TJ Halliday, who's our director of learning and development. And Clarence and Jeff have been working with TJ on some video products that we're going to be releasing this fall. And we're always busy working year round. And really, we take a lot of pride in what we do, and we're only as good as our members. So if you have a special skill that you can lend to something that we're trying to do to make the basketball officiating avocation better for everybody, don't hesitate to contact me. I'm pretty much available 24/7. I think my phone goes on silent about 1:30 at night, and I'm back up at 7. But if there's a call in the middle of the night and I need to take it, I don't have any problem doing that because we do have boards that are overseas in Japan, Germany, and Italy. So they're a little bit different time zones. So just depends on what's happening. We do that. So our dues have remained the same since 2001 when there was a meeting in Buffalo and they were raised from $15 to $25. And they've remained, $35. And they've remained the same since 2001, and we really don't have any plans to raise those dues. We're very fortunate with our training products to be able to be self-sufficient without continually raising dues on our officials. We don't deal with assignments. It's really just training and education and at all levels. So we are involved with FIBA, Canada basketball, the National Federation, and also the NCAA, and we do some deals with the NBA and the G League. So myself, I assign. I tell everybody, like, we had an officials class last night where we had 12 newbies on the court for the first time, and really, I say you can go from high school to Division I under one umbrella because I assign everything from high school to Division I. Within our alliance and the high school group, and also being in the consortium for the Big Ten. So these are exciting times. We're getting ready to launch Crew of 3 this summer, one of our training courses. If you've not been online to trainyourofficials.com, and I'll put that in the chat before I head out. But I would, strongly encourage everybody to go on there and just view what we have to offer. And yeah, there we go. Trainyourofficials.com. Claire's put it in there. Thank you very much. Our training courses are out there. We also have a junior IAABO program for students. I was on the phone earlier today, actually on a Zoom, with a instructor from Braintree, Massachusetts, where they're starting a course, and we just started one in Philadelphia. So students that are under the age of 18, they're more than welcome to join the junior IAABO program. That's a nominal cost of $15, which includes a whistle and a lanyard for each one of those individuals. They can get a certificate, and really it's IAABO University Light, and it's really geared towards high school age students. We're very fortunate to have TJ's wife is a elementary school teacher. So she takes all of our products and puts them in layman's terms so everybody can understand them. So we're very happy to have her on board. With that, the NIT is on tonight, McDonald's All-American game at 9:00, and they should be some great games. And the high school national championships are taking place in, I think it's Brownsville, Indiana, this weekend, 4th, 5th, and 6th, on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So those should be some excellent games and some great competition. So I'd encourage you to watch those. I believe they're going to be on TV. And if you ever have any questions about IAABO, I'm only a phone call away or an email, and I'm here to help. And so is Felix. So let us know if we can, help you in any way. Does anybody have any questions before I jump off?
Hey, Donnie, if you can talk about the fall seminar as well.
Yeah, so we have a fall seminar. It's coming up in Albany, New York, and the dates are the full seminar. We start with a hospitality room on Wednesday evening, which is the 11th of September. On Thursday, there's a golf outing. And then on Friday, we get down to the business of the organization with basketball training seminars on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday morning. So, I know work time and leave is precious for a lot of people. If you can get there, my recommendation is to fly out of Chicago on Thursday night. Get there in time to spend some time in the hospitality room, get to know some people. Friday morning, we start with sessions, and they run all day Friday, all day Saturday, and then Sunday morning. And it's nothing but basketball. We're going to be very fortunate to have Lindsay Atkinson from the National Federation. She's joining us this year for the seminar, and Dr. Niehoff has indicated that she also plans to attend. So we're just trying to finalize her plans. But the seminar is free. All you have to do is get there. And it's strictly just basketball officials. So that's, what we do. And it's like, for those, you're just immersed in basketball for that entire weekend. And, like I said, it's free. All members are welcome to come. It's just, there'll be a lot of board leadership people there, but it's open to members also. The only thing you have to do is register in advance. So we have a packet for you when you get there, your, a credential, and, hopefully we'll get to see some of our Chicago neighbors there. So we're also holding a camp in the COC is holding a camp in Chicago. I think it's July 6th and 7th. So I'll be in Chicago during
5th, 6th, and 7th.
It's actually just it's just that Saturday, Sunday. Yeah, we tell people to come in on the 5th because there's no games on the 5th. It's just the 6th and the 7th.
Oh.
Yeah, so we'll probably just have classroom on the night of the 5th, and then go the 6th and 7th. All right. Any other questions about what we do here at IAABO? I've only ever held 2 jobs in my life. One was in the Army. I was in the Army for 20 years, retired when I was 38. And about 2 years before I got out of the Army, I started working part-time for IAABO, and I've been with IAABO ever since. So, and I'm only 45, so I've been there 7 years. I'm just kidding.
Donnie, you're what we call a lifer.
That's it, 2 jobs. That's all I plan on having.
You're a lifer. That's a good thing.
Basketball, this is what I love to do. My wife thinks I'm crazy. I take her on 2 vacations in the summertime. The rest of the time I'm working, so it's a good deal.
I understand.
I was invited to go along. We actually just went to the Big Ten tournament in Minnesota, and she went to all 13 games. If I would ask her to go to 13 basketball games, she'd tell me I'm crazy. But I took my grandson and he wanted to go all the games. Now she went with him. So I know what the trick is now. Take him along when I need her to do something.
Yeah, awesome, awesome.
Yeah, no, but we really do appreciate everybody and your membership. And if there's anything that we can do or that you can recommend that will make us a better organization, don't be afraid to reach out. Okay.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you guys. Have a
Thank
great
you, Donnie.
All right, have a good one.
Talk to you soon.
Nice
All right.
meeting you, Miss Pamela. Thank you.
All right.
Nice meeting you too, Donnie.
Okay, well, are there any questions about anything Donnie said? Because we're kind of going to get into that a little bit with our agenda. Hold on, let me be sure. All right, so this is kind of what going to be our general agenda for tonight. We probably are going to keep you any longer than maybe an hour at most. But one of the things is I'm willing to do is if we have questions or stuff that you guys want to address, I can stay on a little longer to help address those things. But the purpose of our meeting is to kind of go over what you kind of know a little bit about IAABO, but I'm gonna have Clarence go over some business information first, and then we'll kind of get into some of the off season and preparation, and we may do a couple little things about some video review and things of that, and any other questions that we may have. And again, guys, this is a dialogue, so this is not us just talking the whole night. We want you to interrupt or say, hey, I got a question or something I want to ask about, or a player situation. That's the whole point, because that's what we want to do moving forward. But at this time, I will let Clarence go through the kind of some general things. I mean, Clarence, you don't have to go through everything specifically on here. I'm just some general stuff we'll kind of cover.
Okay, great. Well, thank you, Jeff. For those that don't know, my name is Clarence Cooper, out of Chicago, Illinois. I assist Marvin Sykes in assigning CPS, Chicago Public Schools, boys basketball officials. We have a pool of over like 200 some officials that we are assigning throughout the season and training with the help of some of the likes of our veteran officials that's on this call, who are also part of the Chicago group. Ms. Pamela Young, Tyreek Lucas. I'm not sure if Marvin's on here himself. Tracy Carruthers, Ron Miles, so forth and so on. I can go on and on, but at the end of the day, just want to let everybody know that we're really serious about helping officials get better. Obviously, this kind of whole idea started with myself back during the pandemic. Actually, talking to Tyreek, was talking to him about some Big Ten conference stuff and just training officials and this, that, and the other. And we kind of was talking about some ideas, and I kind of did some research and jumped on the IAABO train, so to speak, and been on ever since. And just now that we brought other people on, we want to kind of spread the word. And if you've taken advantage of some of the resources that IAABO has, you see why it's such a popular program and why it's so successful for as long as they've been around, since 1921. So I'm just going to touch on a few things real quick, and then I'm going to pass it back to Jeff. The dues, like Donnie mentioned a few minutes ago, for those that were on, those that weren't on, Donnie Epley, who's the person in charge of technology for IAABO, and he kind of handles a lot of the backbone stuff of the industry. I mean, of the organization. The dues are $35 a year, and those dues are actually due for the upcoming season. They're due by May the 1st. So if you register anytime between this time last year up to February 1st, you have to pay your $35 renewal fee. Those that registered after February 1st, and that's pretty much the ones that most of the newbies that we got on, then you don't have to pay. They're gonna give you the extension because you just recently paid, within the last month or so. So you won't have to pay again, but those dues are due by May 1st. So what we'll send you guys more information as far as the email, just as a follow-up with, all of these different things that we're talking about, and we're recording this meeting as well. So we'll share this out just as a follow-up as well. But the dues are $35. And I'm not going to go over everything that you get, but I will share a link with you that'll give you the description of everything. The key things that I really want you guys to take advantage of is the membership. The membership includes a lot of training information. They have some pre-recorded, or they have some actual recordings of different topics from different speakers, different interpreters from IAABO organizations, some people that are IAABO members. They even have a few people who have been retired from IAABO or retired officials that go back and they do trainings on different topics like block charge or communication with coaches or illegal contact on the shooter and so forth and so on. So there's tons of information that can help everybody get better. So it doesn't matter if it's your first year or if this is your 100th year. There's enough information here that we all can go back and kind of, retool ourselves and kind of get in and, and study the information. If you don't have the IAABO handbook, you definitely need to make sure you get that, study that. I will say this, after being a member, this is my 3rd year, actually going into my 4th year. The book pretty much is your Bible. Any question you pretty much have, any case scenario you pretty much have, it's pretty much in the book. You can go in there and find the information, and that can kind of guide you, help you through situations as well. So the book is kind of a combination of the rule book, the National Federation rule book, the handbook, as well as the case book, all put into one. And they even go as far as to have different diagrams and plays and situations where we should be in certain situations, floor mechanics and what you should be looking for, what you shouldn't be looking for, so forth and so on. So the book is very detailed. I think they did an excellent job in putting the book together. I know we've had some of us throughout this past season had some play scenarios where we were like, hey, what page was that on in the book? So we are going back for referencing purposes. So it's good to have one book where you can just take with you and kind of go around and just, talk shop and talk plays so that we all can get better. So again, make sure that you get your dues in. I will resend the link out to everybody via email so that you can go and you can pay your dues. So that way you'll take that information and you can get that taken care of for the upcoming season. All right. There's also a video rule book guide that they have in the membership. Actually, let me share my screen for a minute so that I can show everybody some of this stuff, because I know it's me explaining it is one thing, but seeing it is a whole different thing. So let me just share my screen. Can everybody see? Yes. Okay. So this is just some of the things that you get in your membership. Again, I'm not going to go through all of this, but I just want to show you the IAABO website. This is the fall seminar information that Donnie was talking about. You can find that under the calendar of events when you go to IAABO.org. Click on fall seminar and you get all the information. Again, all IAABO members, you do not have to register. You're automatically included. All you have to do is provide your own transportation and expenditures for that fall seminar. Here is where you go sign into the members area. I know some people had issues with that, but you go to IAABO.org, click on members platform, and you click on members login. And you'll put in your username, which is basically your email address, and then your password. And then there's usually a number security function that'll tell you to add, 7 + 3, which is obviously 10. You put 10 in there and then you click sign in and then you're logged into the members area. And this is what the members area looks like. So just to kind of quickly go through, just to touch on a couple of things, the IAABO Academy, I definitely recommend you check that out. These are some of the previously recorded seminars that they had this past season. They have it broken down into a 100, 200, 300 series. So like in the 100 series, they talked about traveling, crew of 2, block charge, signals and signaling, other violations, jump ball, so forth and so on. If you go to the 200 series, again, it's just more videos. So it's kind of like built on a scaling concept. So this 200 series, they're talking about screening, site of foul violation, illegal and incidental contact. The lead is the key. Talking about the lead position, continuous motion, active shooting, working the trail. What does IAABO do for you? So these are just things that you have access to that's already included with your $35 annual membership, that you can go in and you can watch these videos whenever you want, 24/7. Most of the series that they did in the IAABO Academy were like about maybe anywhere between 45 minutes to an hour long, pre-recorded lessons that you can go in and just watch them whenever you want. So I definitely encourage you to do that. If you want to go back into, if you want to look at the, where is it at? The video playbook. So you go into members benefits here. I don't know if everybody can see this or not, but go down to video playbook. Again, these are all these tools as part of your membership. So you can take advantage of this, you know, again. So if you're into videos is your thing, they got tons of videos. If you want to read the rule book or the handbook, you can do that as well. So this is just, you can click on any of these links. So let's say, for example, we want to talk about live ball, dead ball, rule 6 in the IAABO handbook. You can click see more down here at the bottom, and you can, now you got access to all of these different links that actually talk about, they have videos pertaining to what the rule book is. So if you want to go and you want to say, okay, I want to watch this video, some of it has sound, some of it doesn't. But again, this is just a video, and it's a short, the videos are real short, they're not real long, but they just basically give you an idea, or so you can visually see what live ball, dead ball would look like when you toss in to start a game. Okay, so that way, especially for those that may be new, this is a great way to kind of connect the dots from what you're reading versus what you're supposed to see or how it should look on the court. Okay, so it gives you play analysis, it gives you rules, it gives you case scenarios. Again, you can click it, you know, go to the next topic. So if you go to the next topic, then it says, okay, live ball on the free throw. Again, you can watch that, you know, and so forth and so on. So you get the concept of what you can do with the video rule book. Again, this is just basically putting videos to the actual rule book, you know, so that way you can kind of connect the dots. All right. Any questions so far? Because I know I'm kind of running through this real quick. No questions? All right. IAABO University. This is something that they just came out with this year. Me personally, I completed the high school course and the crew of 2 tableside mechanics. Now, this is an additional fee. If you do the high school course, it is $50 to register. And I believe you have 3 months to complete the course. Same thing if you do the crew of 2 or any of these other options that they have here. I would definitely recommend you do them if you get a chance. It goes through detailed chapter by chapter, breaks it down with video. At the end of each chapter, you have a question, a review question. So you may get like 10 questions based on the previous videos and things that you watch within that chapter. So same thing for the crew of 2. For those of us that's in Illinois, you know, we do tableside rotation. So then crew of 2 tableside rotation would be something I would definitely highly recommend for you to, you know, take advantage of. Again, it's $25. They are working on a crew of 3 that will be coming out sometime, I believe he said in the summer or the fall of this year. And again, it'll talk about 3-person mechanics, where you're supposed to be, what you're supposed to do, you know, that type of thing, rotation, all of that kind of stuff. Great training tools. Again, this is all, you can just go onto the IAABO University, and this is IAABOU.org, and you can register for those. Again, once you sign up for it, you have 3 months to complete it. Again, you can work at your own pace throughout the 3 months. So you're not obligated to say, oh, I got to get this done all this week. You got 3 months to do it. If you want to wake up at 2 in the morning and you can't sleep, go on the IAABO University and knock out a couple of chapters if you want to, or if you got some downtime. It's a great tool for officials to take advantage of. So check it out when you get a chance. All right. Also, I know I'm not going to go into too much about it, but hopefully you all have checked out RefQuest. RefQuest. Well, not refquest.com. I shouldn't say that. But RefQuest Plus. Definitely check this out. This is another video library that you guys can take advantage of. And if you've been paying attention to your email, you should have been getting emails from Donnie Epley with various types of, you make the call plays. I mean, honestly, this is what really hooked me to even getting a membership, to be totally honest with you. This by itself was worth it in gold. But again, you can go in here, you can watch any of the plays, just click on RQ collaboration, and you see the library, click on library. Again, I've been involved for 3 years, so I got like 25 pages worth of videos. I think Tyreek may have way like 50 plus pages because he has NCAA plus IAABO plus all of the different college conferences that he works. So again, you can go in here, you can watch a play, and basically what you do is you just read the information that they have down here. They usually present the situation, It may be a question. In this case, it says the ball handler is fouled on the drive to the basket. Should 2 free throws be awarded? Simple question. You got your rewind buttons down here. You got a play button, and you can slow it down and speed it up. So here is where you can slow it down. If you go to 0.5 or 0.25, you can slow the video down, or you can speed it up if you go to 2x or 4x. Again, you just watch the videos, and you ask yourself, okay, basically you make the call. Should it be 2 shots or not? And you watch it and you kind of make that decision based on a play. As we know, basketball is a game of angles. So sometimes what we see from the bird's eye view, meaning from the camera view looking down, may be different than the courtside view, or, underneath the basket, or so forth and so on. So when you get to that point, you just say, okay, let me make my call. You pick, if you think it should be 2 shots, you click yes or no, or whatever the options are for that particular question. You can give a comment to your answer if you choose to. The defender fouled on arm, whatever. Let's say if I type the answer, fine. If not, that's fine too. Submit your answers. This is probably the thing that really was good about this. And so now that I selected my answer here, then I can go to play summary. Now, this is what it does. It gives you a summary of everybody that answered this question. Okay, all 15,000 members, or however many members answered this question, you can see. So everybody that's in red said no, the foul was before the try had begun. And in green is saying yes, 2 free throws should be awarded, which was the correct response. Okay, so now I can go and I can click on comments, and you read what other people's comments are pertaining to that same play. So sometimes we all see things a little differently. Sometimes we see it the same. Again, the goal for this whole concept of IAABO is to try to get all the officials on the same page as much as possible, so that we're being consistent from city to city, state to state, all across the world. That's the goal. Okay, so again, these are just some of the resources that you have access to with your membership. Again, you got to take advantage of it. It's no good to just have it and not take advantage of it. Please take advantage of it. If you have any questions, reach out to myself or Jeff. We'll be more than happy to help you kind of get acclimated to the system. Take advantage of it. Any questions for me? Because I think I've said enough.
Okay, well, if there are no questions, we want to kind of continue on a little bit with the agenda. Kind of to reiterate that, now can everybody see my screen by any chance?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The other things that we wanted to do, obviously, the information that we have for the dues, we already know is $35. Now, just as a, not something we're going to do this year, because we realize we started kind of in the middle of the year, of the year, so we're going to keep everything the same. What we may do in the future, and this is just this is not for this year. We're really more talking, 25, 26, or maybe 26, 27. We may start doing meetings in person at some point, or some other things. So, and we may do some other things where we add some things to our that we offer. Maybe we add, IAABO University to you as part of your membership. But the reason why I'm talking about that, because we would have to make a decision as a board if we were going to raise the dues just to do that. We may not do that, but we may send out some kind of survey or something to see what everybody thinks. Because what we also do not want to do as well is I do not want to impede on your organizations that you are a member of already. Because it's good that if you are in with other organizations, we're not trying to take you away from those organizations or keep you away from those organizations, at least not by the things that we do. And we know you probably, I'm a member of, I think, about 4 or 5 organizations outside of IAABO, actually. So, so that can be expensive. So we don't want to add to any other expense. So it's just something we were talking about, me and Clarence, Tyreek have talked about a little bit about if we were to have in-person meetings and when we would have them. Now, moving forward, we also want to have meetings at least once a month. We may add an extra meeting depending on the time of the year. But right now, this was our first meeting. We probably, I don't imagine that we would have another meeting this April, but we could have maybe a couple in May or something like that. But the agenda is at least have a meeting a month. We haven't decided when that's going to be, because we also have some agendas that are coming up that me and Clarence will be doing through IAABO, teaching a class for some people all over the region. which I'll get into that way later. Something that we're doing, and those want to help and be involved or participate, we're more than welcome to have you. But where there's some training and some camps that we were asked to do because there are no IAABO chapters in the area, so we may be doing something here in parts of Indiana and Wisconsin as well coming up. But we'll get more into that detail as we get closer, because it also might involve, if you want to take a class, they also have some training that they might do a class for and help pay for uniforms for newer officials. So, but we'll get that word out when we're doing it so that you know who to tell. If you got members that or individuals who are just starting in officiating, this is a great way to get them involved, and they could probably get some uniforms and some other things paid for to start off and get them going. So that's another thing coming. But again, we would do a meeting probably once a month. Again, we got to figure out all our schedules. I know Tyreek, myself, I know we're going to camps. And maybe not Tyreek anymore because he's big time, but but we have some other camps that might be coming up. We'll know probably in the next few weeks if we're going to do one locally. And part of the reason we're kind of waiting on some other information, I won't get into that now, but that will affect what we will be doing. And also we will meet also through the, at least the beginning of the season. At least that's the goal. I don't know if we'll be able to meet during the season, just because of timing, and we don't want to take away everything that you're doing, but we want to meet for the season and kind of have more of an agenda each and every time that we go through something. So any questions about that? Okay. If there are no questions about that, I wanted to talk about, this is kind of what I wanted to talk about. One of the reasons I wanted to have the meeting in general is to kind of just touch base on some things for the off season. I know all of us, we've probably been off for about a month at the very least, maybe a little over a month, depending on when your playoffs were. I know I personally I went to the state finals for the Illinois High School Association, and for the first time I went to the Indiana High School Association this past weekend. So I've been thinking basketball ever since the season has ended, and for a lot of reasons, for my own personal reasons, and also just to kind of get prepared for the things that I'm doing. But I wanted to talk about, the off-season preparation that you should be thinking about, just some things to think about. And anybody like Tyreek or Clarence, chime in if you have anything to add. Even Pam, chime in if you have anything to add. But if you're waiting to figure out what I'm going to do for the off season, it's probably you're a little behind. you should be trying to do your off season preparation right now. This is the time to start doing it. And when I say off season preparation, I don't necessarily mean you got to get in the gym and work out 10 hours a day. I'm saying your rules, your mechanics, watching games. This is a great time of year because we can watch games on television and learn something from those games. So and apply to the level that we work. So your preparation should be going on right now for the coming year, because while you're not working and while you have a little bit of idle time, and I know we've been working, and some, even I work basketball, Clarence and I work basketball together, even on Sunday. So, but you should be trying to get into that book, get into some situations, learn rules, maybe go over some video that you had during the season, do all those type of things. And then also you should be thinking about camps. Now, the main part I want to talk about this are, camps are an important part of your preparation as well for your off season. So if you aren't thinking about going to a camp, or you haven't gone to a camp, this is the time to start thinking about it. Now, even some of the Division I or the college camps at this point are still open. So there's still places that are available. Donnie mentioned, I'm not saying you have to go to this camp, but in the Chicago area, we have a camp for the Big Ten that's coming up. And I would say this is if you have worked varsity for a long time and you think you might be ready just to hear some information from some different people, at least we have one in our backyard. Then you don't have to get on a plane or go to Memphis or go to Las Vegas. They've added like 2 or 3 of them, or go to Indianapolis or any place to go to them. But what I want you to do is like start thinking about what kind of camps you want to attend. There's usually 2 type of camps, or 2 basic type of camps. One is like a training and learning camp, where usually there are, and some are relatively cheap. Some of them could be rather expensive, but the probably the more expensive ones that are the ones when you got people of bigger names are involved in them. If they got NBA officials or Division I Final Four officials, those can usually cost you a little bit more. But we have local ones too that will get you some training, and if you are an IHSA official or an Indiana official, you can come and get some basic training and some basic information. Those are always great camps to go to. The other type of camp is a hiring camp, and it doesn't mean you can't learn something at a hiring camp, but if you go to a hiring camp, a lot of times the hiring camps are the ones where a conference might be assigning or looking for officials to see if they can put on their staff, or even some high school camps are like that. Now, Chicago area has changed drastically over the last year or so with new supervisors. So some of the camps that you might have been going to in the past might not be available. And we will give out information of any camp that is in the area as the spring goes on. I know the Joliet Basketball Officials Association is having a camp, which I may be partly involved in. COA is having a camp, Central Officials Association having a camp. So there's some other opportunities, and you can hear from some very experienced and experience and well-to-do officials, experienced officials at different levels that will teach you certain stuff, and those can be relatively cheap compared to the bigger camps like the Big Ten camp, as an example. So basically, I kind of talked about this a little bit, but how do you choose a camp? Where are you at in your career, and what do you want to do with your career at this point? This was the end of my 28th year. I will be going into my 29th year, and I'm going to like 4 camps already. In different parts of the country. So my career is, I've already worked state finals and stuff like that at the high school level. So, and I'm on a few staffs from the Division II level, Division III level. So I will be going to camps like that because that's where I'm at in my stage. But you might not be at that place. You might be in a place where you are working varsity, and maybe you just want to work for another conference, or you just want to work maybe more games in that conference, or you want to impress upon somebody that has never seen you, or to learn some information. So you have to decide that what your goals are and what you want to do and how you want to do it. So how does this affect your future? I mean, and there are even camps for pro-am, low-level college, whatever. Even sometimes going to camps can help you get into the postseason a little bit, or get you maybe notice if you're already on a staff, or give you some more feedback so that when you go work in Illinois, for example, you might work in the Chicago Catholic League. Well, maybe I want to work in the West Suburban. Maybe I want to work in the Southland or whatever. You might have to go to those people's camps to get those opportunities. And the more opportunities, at least in Illinois, the more places you work, the more likely the opportunities for postseason can happen. Indiana's a little different because they have an application process, and they have a little bit of a bigger system. But again, working in different places helps you sometimes get the opportunities to be seen, and then evaluators and people who or even the state, like Illinois, we're going to have a new boys supervisor or administrator, because Kirk Gibson is retiring at the end of this year. So there might be an opportunity that the new person might be out and about to look at some people, or to maybe go to meetings and things like that. And I will make sure that also when that comes up, that maybe we can have that person on to maybe talk and speak to our group as well. But so things are changing, and even in the last 3 or 4 years, things are changing. Things are even changing at the higher level. There's a small college camp, or a small college league that some people we're gonna have a new supervisor for that. So there's the opportunities are abound, and we might have camps that help relate those individuals to those leagues. Again, some strategies of what to do when you go to these camps. What do you do when you show up?
Jeff,
Go ahead.
I would only just want to add before you start trying to go to camps, before you start just giving away money, try to find out whose camp it is. If you have a mentor, talk to the mentor, see if they know that person, because a lot of times you just go to camp and just donate money. And obviously nobody wants to just donate money. So be mindful that just because you go doesn't mean you will get hired. Just ask somebody who may know that person, know the league or whatever else, just to save yourself some heartache. That's it.
Tyreek, real quick, while you're on that subject, talk about how important it is for, I mean, because we've all been there to some extent where we feel like, well, I'm ready for this and I'm ready for that, because that's what you're thinking in your own mind versus let me talk to somebody, an assigner or a mentor, to really see where I'm at and should I even go apply for a Big Ten camp.
Yeah, well,
I
really, that's exactly what I really wanted to say, but I was trying to keep it on the high school level. But with that being said, I'm glad you brought it up.
And I don't mean because you out, but that's for any camp. I'm not just saying Big Ten.
Yeah.
I'm just as an example, but it could be if I'm at high school varsity, like Jeff said, and I want to work state playoffs. Like, okay, who do I need to, whose camp should I be going to? How should I move basically to get to where I'm trying to go?
Yeah, well, I think this officiating business is just like life. It's about who you know, not what you know a lot of times. So you could be a great official, and if you don't have anybody vouching for you, chances are you just won't be moving up or you won't get hired or whatever else. It's unfortunate, but it's our reality. So having a mentor, having somebody you can talk to in this business is like priceless. And like I'm always available. I know Jeff, Clarence, they're always available, Pam. So it's like it's nothing but a phone call. And for whatever reason, we tend sometimes to try to not, I don't need no help, I'm gonna do it on my own. And it just don't work. It just doesn't. I mean, some people might get hired once or twice, but if you want to continuously move and not just waste money or not go to camps that you don't need to go to, you definitely the mentor, definitely talk to people who have been where you're trying to go. I know nobody who in this organization is going to try to hurt you or try to steer you wrong. So I mean, it doesn't cost anything, but just a phone call. And if one person tell you something that you don't want to hear or you don't like, ask somebody else, because everybody doesn't have, no one person has all the answers. So if you talk to 4 or 5 people, the old saying, the 7 fools don't tell the same lie. So if everybody's telling you you're not ready, then chances are you're just not ready. So you might just want to work on some things, but to try to move up so fast, and I would even say this, especially the younger people tend to move up so fast in this business now because they're going to the youth movement. They want to try to get all the young people in. They want to get them in quick. And when they get there and now they're not ready, they come right down. And once you come down, that's it. You'll never get another opportunity. So sometimes it behooves you to just wait. Even though you feel like you're good, just wait until you know you're ready, because sometimes the skill level doesn't translate into the game within the game, which is how to stay hired. And we could talk about that a lot more later, but it's not just about calling fouls and violations. There's a lot more to go with it that will keep you where you're trying to go. And that's about it. I hope I answered the question without.
No, that was perfect.
Perfect. And I just want to say this real quick before Jeff, before you finish going. For the young people that's on the call, like really take heed to what this information that we're sharing with you, because we're telling you stuff that's facts, because we don't want you to get caught up in the officiating rumor mill, so to speak, where you think like, oh, well, man, Clarence went to this camp and that camp and I spent all this money and nobody hired me and I'm mad at the world. We're giving you advice from experience. So take it for what it is. Like they said, reach out to one of us if you got questions, if you need some mentorship, whatever it may be. There's enough experience on here that, as far as the officials, where you can get some good sound guidance to help get you to where you're trying to go.
And also with that being said, just if you work in some games, there's some local games and AAU games, like I don't work AAU anymore. So like I'm available. If you need me to come watch you, I'll give you some honest feedback. And if you didn't know, I'm a clinician at probably every low-level college conference in this area, from the GLBC to the GLIAC, which is D2, to the D3s. So like it probably won't be a camp that you'll go to trying to get to the college level without seeing me there. So it might benefit you to say, hey, do you think that I'm ready? Because I know what they're looking for. And I'm not gonna steer you wrong. I'm not gonna tell you yes just to make you feel good and you go waste your money. I'm not. But I will try to help you and say, no, you need to work on this, this, and this. So probably go next year. Or I might say, well, you might go this year, but you might not get hired, but just go anyway, just so you can see what it's like. So everybody's at a different level. But I think you should definitely talk to a mentor, talk to somebody before you try to just go out there and spend money, because they'll take it. They'll take all
Sure
your
will.
money.
They'll take all your money.
And
And then
Tyreek is talking on the college level, but I know Pam and Jeff, myself, and Tyreek as well, and a few other people, Tracy and LaRon. I know they're not on the call right now, but you know, these people, we've all worked at higher levels, and even in the state. You know, I know Jeff works Indiana and Illinois, so he knows people on both sides. Pam is a state clinician in basketball and volleyball. You know, so these are people with tons of experience that's going to give you good guidance. And I will say this, from my 23 years of coming up, I've seen a lot of people take the guidance and they get big headed, think they know everything, and then you hear nothing else about them ever again. You know,
Right.
but just listen to what we're telling you. We're not going to steer you wrong. You know, but the key thing I would say is, if it was one word I had to describe to get to your goal, is be patient. Be patient.
Yeah.
Do the work, keep working hard, but be patient.
And just so we're clear, when I talk about going to camps, I'm not talking necessarily about college camps specifically. I think it's imperative that you go to some kind of camp to hear from somebody to say there are camps that are $50, $70. Those are very cheap and will give you an opportunity. First off, if you're in Illinois, you're gonna get your credit for your clinic. So that's the one benefit that you get. And then the other benefit is that you might be able to be in front of somebody that you've never heard from before. Like if you don't work in the western suburbs, maybe going to the JBO camp is a great camp, because they have leagues that are out from Chicago or in places maybe you do not live, and just give you an opportunity to be told something from clinicians throughout the state. So it's not just about the college camp. It's sometimes the high school camp is the one you need to go to, because maybe I would agree, Tyreek could tell you you're not ready for the Big Ten camp, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't go to the Southland Conference camp or the camp that other individuals run, because those camps are going to at least tell you on the level that you're trying to be at. Even if you don't work 3-person, it's a great way to learn it and to get that bit of information. So keep those in mind. And did you have anything else, Tyreek, with that? Or?
I just want to give them a little perspective real quick.
Right.
That just tell you how difficult it really is to move up, because a lot of people got a misconception. I know Clarence hit on it earlier, but I would just say it real quick. In 2017 and 2018, I worked back-to-back high school state championships, and I thought I was on top of the world. It took me 6 years to get hired in Division I college. So I'm saying that to say that it's totally different. The levels are totally different. And because you think that you've arrived, like I thought I arrived, and then even after I did get hired, my first year I was terrible. I thought I was good. I was terrible, and I didn't know, but it woke me up, and it made me want to learn. Like, dude, if I'm at the Division I level, I'm not gonna last, because I knew nothing. But you couldn't tell me that when I was working high school. So just understand that it's a big difference, and it just goes from even the sophomore to the varsity level. You want to master that varsity level, it's not like a sophomore game. It's totally different. So and then even when you say you want to go to, say, a West Suburban varsity game as opposed to a Chicago Public School varsity game in the red division, totally different. So just be mindful that it's levels to everything we do, and don't get so caught up in, oh, I'm ready, because it's just difficult. So like you say, patience, take your time, learn as much as you can learn, work as many games as you can at any level. That's my advice. Any level you can learn. And if you really want to move up, just work those games. Don't just walk up and down the court. Don't just try to get a check. Work on something. I'm not saying bust your butt every play, but just work on something, whether it's mechanics, whether it's communication with coaches, whether it's rotations, whether it's hoop positioning, whatever it is, work on something. And that's it. I'm gonna start
right. Well, and that's perfect, guys, because as I said, I worked a sectional final this year, and the stuff that you have to deal with at that level is just a sectional final is totally different than a regular season game. And and Tyreek worked the state finals and for 4A championship. I worked one right after him, and I can tell you that was a whole nother level of something that even I didn't experience at that time, because the eyes and the attention was there. And I mean, and people calling you and telling you that I didn't like the call you made on, this in the first quarter and stuff like that. You'd be amazed the type of stuff that comes up when you even work a postseason game. And you might say, well, it's not like, working the like, like a regional final in the NCAA tournament, but there's a lot of people who pay attention to that stuff. I mean, I worked at Pontiac was my sectional, and the place was packed, and the eventual winner went on, the defending state champion and the eventual winner of that sectional went on to the state tournament or in Champaign. And just the eyes and people that paid attention to things that go on in those games is just unbelievable. So you might think that, that's why I say you still need to go to these other camps, because there's things that those individuals can teach you that you haven't done. Is even if you work varsity basketball, there are lower level varsity games in the CPS, and then there's the big boy games in the CPS that have a completely different attitude, and you're dealing with coaches who probably want state championships or go to the deep in the playoffs every year. Those individuals are not the same as teams who've never been there. They've never been past a regional. Their attitudes, their attention to detail, the things that they care about, sometimes is totally different. So you gotta be. So that's why I think going to camp, period. You should go to camp every year just to hear somebody tell you something that you've never heard before. And it might be just something about, moving in the lead position or how you call a foul. So that's I think essential for us as officials to hear another voice. And that doesn't mean you have to agree with everything that somebody says. You might walk away from it and be like, I don't agree with anything that was said, but you have a mentor, you call one of us, and then we talk about it. And maybe we agree with you, but we might be like, well, show me the film or something to back up what they're saying, because maybe what they're saying is true, or maybe little things that you say. And I would say this before I go on. I mean, the one thing I learned midway through my career was just pick up pennies. And what that basically means is if somebody throws 100 pennies on the floor and you just pick up one or two along the way, and then another person throws 100 pennies or 1,000 pennies, and you pick up one or two, you're richer than before they threw the pennies on the floor. So that is how your attitude should be when you go to camp, especially when you're trying to learn. So let me just quickly go through this, and I just want there's some other things for you to think about when you're in camp. What do you do when you show up? First off, introduce yourself to as many people as that you were at that camp. Say, hey, my name is Jeff Rutledge. Hey, this, that, the other. If it's an out of town camp, tell them where you're from. If maybe even almost like an elevator speech to some extent. Tell them what you do. This, that, the other. Anything that can give them perspective, especially when you get on a floor with a clinician who's never seen you before. If they know something that you work some varsity or you work some sophomore or you work whatever, that helps them to evaluate you. Because if I know someone is a playoff veteran and in my camp, I'm gonna treat them differently than somebody who has never worked a freshman game in their life. So it's a good way to just get to know people, and then they get to know you, and maybe they can help you out in other little ways, maybe point you in the right direction. What do you do before and after games? If you first off, you should get there on time. Anytime you're working a game, don't get there 10 or 15 minutes before game time. Get there 30 minutes, 40 minutes, hour, depending on the setting of the camp. Listen to the clinicians that are on the floor that you are going to be on. I think that is very key, because some things is just you might learn something from just the other guys working, because if they screw up something, or that clinician might be, that's their thing. I got pet peeves as a clinician that I talk about all the time, but I don't, but you may not know that unless you hear me talking to other campers about those things. Know the uniform that you were supposed to be wearing at that particular camp. If you work in a college camp, again, college men's, college women's have different uniforms. High school has a different uniform. If they want you to wear pants, be aware of all that stuff. Don't come to the camp wearing something that you are not, that when they say we want you to wear pants and a collared shirt, then that's what you do at that camp. Don't wear my high school shirt or whatever, or just at least being aware of it. So if you need to have one of those things, talk to one of us. We might get you one of those things that you can use as well. But also, you need to know what to look the part. You don't want them to tell you. Well, first of all, let me say this: anytime you go on a camp, especially they're hiring, they're looking for why nots. And the why not sometimes start before you even work the game, because it might be your fitness, it might be your look, it might be the uniform. If you didn't follow instructions, I'll give a very quick story. John Adams, God rest his soul, used to run a camp. He used to work the Horizon League that Donnie now assigns. He was the supervisor of the Horizon League, and then he became the NCAA supervisor. He told everybody, his camps were $50. I swear to God, $50 was his camp, and he used to he would have them in different parts because he signed the GLVC. He told everybody that I do not want change, I want $50. So go to wherever and get the $50. And so I end up, that it was during the spring. It was like in April, May, it might have been. I think I was still working baseball at the time, and I got some cash money, and I had a $50 check. So I held on that $50 for like a week or 2 weeks to go to this camp, and it was in Defiance, Ohio. So when I went to the camp, I was one of the first people that he knew. I didn't know what John Adams looked like from a can of paint. I walked in there, and I was the first person to sign up, and I gave him a $50 bill. After people were coming into the camp, one of the things that they did, people started giving 320s or $100 bill or whatever. He told everybody in the email he did not want to make change. So he literally in the meeting said to everyone, he goes, who was the guy that I met this morning? That was the first person that registered. And I'm just sitting in the back of the room. I go, yeah, that's me. He goes, you might get hired yet. That's exactly what he said. And the part of it, what he was saying is that if they ask you to follow some instructions, follow the instructions. It was just a little thing that I paid attention to and I was obsessed over, because I didn't want to give this man 320s or something and make change when he made it clear. And that had nothing to do with whether I could call a game on the floor. That was just simple following instructions. So things like that, you got to be able to work with. I'm going to go through these really quickly. Be flexible if possible, meaning if somebody gets hurt, be willing to work, be willing to pay attention. There might be something you need to do. That has happened to numerous amounts. Somebody's game goes over time or something like that. Be flexible. Just because your game's at 2:00 doesn't mean that all 3 officials or 2 officials will be there. It might be something you got to do and just fill in. If you do that, sometimes they like, this guy's ready to work or prepared for, even though you was there, an hour or 45 minutes before game time. Listen more than you talk. Somebody told me a long time, you got 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. Listen. You'd be surprised if you just listen to what people say and what the clinicians say. You will learn more sometimes just by listening. Yes, if you have a question, there are times to ask a question, but just listen. And I'll give a very quick. Keith Kimball's working the Final Four, went on a rant about looking for open looks. And it was something that he was talking about to about 15, 20 guys. And it wasn't even my game when he was talking about it. And I just sat there and listened to him, and it made me way better this year, because I started forgetting about the primary coverage areas of every little thing and this little line and this, that, the other. He talked about open look. So it changed my perspective on how to call fouls in and out of my primary and how to get open look. So you just, and I didn't say a word. I just listened to him talk to other officials. Be in shape. Be relatively shape, especially if you're trying to get hired. You need to get in some kind of shape or be in shape, because sometimes you're working 3 or 4 games in a day. You might be working, 7 or 8 games in a weekend. Be in shape, relative shape, so you don't wear yourself out. And especially if you're going to hiring camps, where a lot of those camps are AAU, a lot of those games are stop clock. There's stop clock, shot clocks, all kind of things are involved. Be ready to do it. If you're a high school camp, like especially COA or JBO, you might work 3 games in a row. So you got to be in a little bit of shape to be prepared for that when you're working it. So be ready for that. Know the rules and the mechanics of the level that you're at. So if you're at a college camp, you need to know what differences that are in the mechanics. And what's interesting is you can get those mechanics online. You don't have to buy the book the same way. You can get the rules or whatever online. Or if you don't have it, I can send them to you, or I find ways to get it to you. But know them in and out, because now I will say this: if you go into a men's camp, men's and high school is almost identical, and I say almost. There's some little differences, little philosophy things, but where now we go table side on men's side. Now it's the same as high school. They have some basic mechanics that are the same. You go to a women's camp, it's a totally different world. They do the NBA stuff, they do NBA things. So you got to know that, okay, I'm going to a women's college camp, and there is one in Chicago, by the way, that they usually run during the Nike Cup. If many of you worked it, they run a camp out of that, or there has been in the past. So if you go to that and they have women mechanics, they want you to wear the women's shirts. They want you to wear their uniform. They want you to do their mechanics. So that means something as simple as not stopping the clock on certain plays and certain situations, and their rotations might be different. You got to know that. Don't go into those situations and you don't know anything about what they do. Do some research, talk to a mentor or someone who knows about that level, or someone could get you pointed in that direction. Networking, getting to know people, that's a huge thing. It's, again, you'd be surprised how many contacts of information of officials I have across the country that I see on television. And I, every once in a while send them texts, or I talk to them about situations that they were in. I talk to them about situations I were in. I share videos, things of that nature. Because this is a small knit community. So if something happens in one game, it can, and if it happens even at their level, it can happen to us. That's, and I'm going to talk about video a little bit. I don't know if we're going to go over very much video, if any, tonight, but that's how you get to know people. That's how you can get their feedback on certain stuff. Like, did you handle this correctly? Did you, is that the rule? I had a situation in a Division III game this year where I had a monitor. They don't have very many of them, and I had a play that I wasn't sure I should look at the monitor. I was a referee, but I know the rule, but it was kind of like, don't do it enough. So I talked to some people to say, hey, was this a monitor review situation, or things of that nature? How do I deal with this coach that is acting this way? That's, the senior coach of that league, or whatever the case may be. All those things. Get to know people, because that's how you find your mentors. And it's okay to have several mentors. Have mentors for different things at different levels. Like if you're a high school varsity official, maybe you have a mentor in high school that, knows something about how to get into the playoffs. If you work small college, have a mentor that does that level. If you want to aspire to get to Division I or Division II or whatever, have mentors that have experience in those levels. It's okay to have several. I have several that I call mentors over the course of my career, and I mentor a lot of people that call me and ask me to do, to help them out as well. You are viewed more than the games that you are working as well. So you go to the higher level camps. I'm going to tell you right now, your behavior and your attitude when those games are not going on, and I don't mean at the site, I mean at the bar, at the hotel. All those little things can come back to bite you or help you based on something that happens in the camp. And I'll give you a great example of this. It's a very quick story. It was at a camp for the ACC. I don't mind saying what camp it was. And there was an individual that we all went to like a lot of guys went to Starbucks, and Starbucks was right next to the convention center that we were working at. And there was a guy who got a coffee or something, and there was a homeless man, I guess, on the side of the bill, or somewhere on the street somewhere there, and he got that individual a cup of coffee. He's probably doing this because that's the kind of person that he was, but that person got observed by other supervisors, and the signer for the Big East, who somebody else saw it and said in the meeting he wanted to know who they said they saw somebody that was in the camp that did this, and he didn't want to mention his name at first. And then when later on that person, the supervisor of the Big East, said, hey, I want to know who that person was. Please tell me who that person was, because I think that was a great gesture. And that just gave an impression. And we were just in the meeting to talk about what was going to be the agenda for the camp. Just something that little can make a world of difference, that now that maybe they pay attention to you more than you did it. Now, that doesn't mean you're going to get hired. That doesn't mean they're going to pick you up. It just means that somebody identified that you have a good spirit and a good human being, because if you're dealing with other officials that are coming from different parts of the country and working with them, chances are, if you're that good of a person, you're going to be that good of a person when you're in their presence. So keep that kind of stuff in mind. Any questions about camp and off-season preparation whatsoever? Please say anything, or anything you guys want to add, Clarence or Tyreek, or as well, because I think I've talked enough.
Well, while we talking about questions, let me tell you what happened. That we last year, the Big Ten Consortium, we had a retreat with all the officials hanging out, being free, no basketball, no nothing. And one of the officials was open bar. One of the officials got too drunk, and they fired him. Had nothing to do with basketball, nothing to do with anything else. But he got so drunk, and one of my guys too. And yeah, so just be mindful that even when it's not basketball related, things like that can still get you canned. And yeah, he'll probably never get another chance to work Division I. But yeah, it's tough. But
can I interject something here?
Yes.
Piggybacking on what Tyreek was saying, the higher you go up into camps, Division I, et cetera, they already know pretty much, especially if you invite, that you can officiate. It's what you do outside of basketball that can get you, as he said, hired or especially fired. You don't want to be the negative topic the next morning from something stupid you did the night before that might not have anything to do with basketball officiating. In this day and age now, everybody has a camera. They hear what you're saying. They're seeing what you're saying. And believe me, they're looking for some person is looking for something negative about you that can get you gone and maybe get them in. And that's on all levels of basketball.
Absolutely. I mean,
look at your socialness, how you get along with other people outside of the basketball game. Your personality off the court dictates how you are going to be on the court. And you are watched for these things because assigners and commissioners, they don't want to lose their job because of something stupid you did. That's their job. We're independent contractors. And I tell the officials now that I assign for high school and elementary, even though you might have been correctly right, I'm sorry, these are their jobs, the coaches' jobs, our supervisors' jobs. We're expendable, and you don't want to be gone from something you enjoy doing because of something stupid that occurred.
There was a question. I'm going to cut you off. There's a question in the chat. Somebody asked, what should we wear to a hiring camp on day one showing up for a meeting?
Business casual dress. We typically wear a pair of slacks and a polo shirt if it's the summertime. If it's a little cool, you can wear something like this with a quarter zip, but not this casual, but like one of those dressy ones, dry fit. It's okay to wear gym shoes in the summertime, but even if it's your first time, you might want to wear casual shoes too, just to set that impression.
And you don't wear somebody else's camp shirt or jacket to this camp or jacket.
Please don't. Please don't.
I made that mistake.
In other words,
on any level.
On any level. So for example, Tyreek works at Big Ten. He can't go to the Big Ten camp wearing the ACC camp attire. That's a no-no. It's kind of like working a Nike tournament. You can't do that.
Can't do it.
Can't do it at all. I don't care how much you might not like Nike and love Adidas. If you work in a Nike camp, you got to wear Nikes. If that's what they ask.
At the Big Ten camp a couple years ago, we were doing EYBL, and the thing is, they told us, and this is by following instructions, they told us to not wear any competitor outfits and shoes and stuff like that. So it was just a little thing. So mainly they meant the big ones like Under Armour and Adidas and this, that, the other. But it was Nike gear I can't stand, but for officiating purposes. But my point is that that's how much they emphasized it in the meeting. They said, hey, we do not want you don't come here wearing Reebok stuff, working our games and it's obvious Reebok, or if you're wearing something, wear something where they can't really tell what it is. But sometimes it's that simple of a thing that can get you noticed for the wrong reason. And again, I know someone who was even sent home from camp for Jerry Powell's very first year, who signed the GLVC because the dude went into a room that they gave to us for some hospitality, and he was rude to the girl that was in the room. He basically, they had closed it up, and he said, no, I'm coming in here anyway, and he got what he wanted and was rude to her, and literally they found out about it and sent him home that night, said basically, you ain't coming back, I'll give you your money back. Stuff like that. And then I haven't heard from that official since. I haven't heard any of the lower level or whatever. And that guy might have had a shot at least to work some lower level basketball. And he never, I don't even know if he officiates anymore. So that's how a little thing like that can happen. But he had other issues, but it highlights the things that can happen that have nothing to do with our working games.
And let me touch on this real quick too. This is probably the biggest thing that's going on now with that's getting referees in trouble is social media. Mm-hmm. Whether it's where you posting where you working at, you're bad mouthing other referees, even on a college level. Just be careful for those of you who might want to work college. If you like a post, like for example, earlier I was looking at a post about Angel Reese and some crazy. If I like that post and I'm a referee, and I go and work an LSU game and they playing somebody else, that somebody will go back and find that post and say, he's cheating for LSU because he liked the post. It's a treacherous game. So we don't have social media for real. Like our social media is just look at whatever to entertain, go out the day. I'm not liking nothing because you just never know. And whatever you do, don't badmouth the referees, don't badmouth the signers. It's never going to end well. Like Pam said, the people who you badmouthing them to, you think they're your friends now. If you move up faster than them, further than them, the friendship is different. So they'll be the ones to say, yeah, Tyreek said such and such. Just, you can't quote silence. Stay on social media. If you want to be on social media, post your kids. That's it. Just be careful. That's all I'm saying.
Let me just say this real quick too before we keep going. Understand, even at the high school level now, assignments are not just hiring people just because you can officiate a game. If they know that they interview you and they find out that you hang at certain locations or you hang out with certain types of people, or or even if you are on social media, because I see some officials that's on social media, and guess what? We all human. I get it. But you might be having a bad day. You can't post certain things, even if you're talking to yourself on social media about, oh, this is a horrible day. And that thing affects your job, affects your officiating career. Believe it or not, because now they're going to figure like, okay, well, you're having a bad day and it's not even a basketball season. How can I trust you during the season, knowing that you're not going to have a bad day and take it out on the game? So you just have to be mindful of what you post, when you post, how you post, if you are on social media. Also just understand, everybody knows somebody. Okay. So if I'm an assigner, which I am, I'm going to do my investigation. I'm going to ask some questions. I want to know, okay, well, where do you work? Who do you work for? What do you do? How long have you been working for this person? And especially I know Tyreek at the level that they're at the Big Ten level, they do background checks beyond what you could imagine. Okay. So they want to know everything from childhood up to now. Okay. They want to know, what do you do? Where do you hang out at? Are you at the strip club every week?
And they do credit checks. So if your credit is not good, you cannot get hired in Division I conference. Just so you know.
And a lot of that has to do with the gambling situations too.
But you can be president of the United States.
You got to be careful. But again, these are required, man. And I'm thinking about this since you mentioned that, Tyreek. Pam, remember last year we had a camp out at Evergreen with MOA and Vern. We did a conjunction, and and I'm just saying this because this is another thing you got to think about. And Jeff alluded to this earlier about your appearance. So there was a gentleman who came to the camp last summer that had had braids and dreads, and it was nice and clean and looked good. He asked a question in class. He said, "Well, if I work for certain officials of certain conferences, do I have to cut my hair?" But guess what? If you want to work certain conferences, if that's their requirement, that's what you got to do.
And I would say this. Let me make that point. I'm glad you said that, because you need to look at, for whoever you are, what you look like. What do the officials look like on them games? Do you see a lot of facial hair? Do you see a lot of wild haircuts or long hair? And again, and
Tattoos.
even the women, look at what they wear and how they wear their hair. Because I know an official from Chicago that would hurt her for a little while because of her hairstyle. And then when she went to a certain, maybe traditional, and you may, and again, yes, there are rules from the government and all this other stuff about what you wear and what they can do, but they won't tell you these things, and they won't hire you, or they won't put you in certain situations because of your appearance. And it is something as simple as what your hair and your facial hair was. I'm in the off season, so this is how I look in the off season. But when the season goes on, everything is taken off. I shave everything. I don't wear any facial hair, because I had a conversation with somebody a long time ago, asked me, "Hey, do you know anybody that has a mustache in Division One?" And at the time, there was one or two guys that were black or African American, but the vast majority of them did not have facial hair. So I said, okay, if I'm going to even present myself at this level, I have to get rid of all my facial hair. And then when I work with guys, I don't see a lot of facial hair from younger guys or whatever. We don't see a lot of tattoos all over their face or whatever. And again, things are changing with certain requirements, but just be mindful of those things before you do them. So if you go get all these tattoos down your arm that are completely visible and like a sleeve and whatever, and you want to officiate and it's coming out from the below where your shirt is, be mindful of that, because that might hurt your opportunity to work. Now, is it becoming more and more common? I know some officials have, especially black individuals, got tattoos, but they've got real dark skin, so it's not seen very easily. But we're not always, our supervisors don't look like us. So they are making decisions about who you are. And if they're looking sometimes for just, is it this guy or that guy? That guy looks the part, you don't. That both of you can referee, but I'm gonna take the guy that looks the part. Or I'm gonna take the guy that's in a certain location, or I'm gonna take the guy with a certain kind of job, or I'm gonna take the guy. There's all kinds of things that they consider that you don't even realize that they check up. When they do background checks, they check up everything that you've been associated with wherever you live. Every little thing can matter. Now, at the high school level, that's not as big of a deal, but you have to report whether you were involved in certain things at the high school level. And if you aren't involved in certain things, they're not going to consider you, or they won't even let you have a license. And I know that from working for 2 states about the background checks that they had to go through and the things that they ask you about, and credit checks and other stuff. And it's usually not that big of a deal. And if you get in any kind of trouble, you got to report that information. So this is a business, and the commissioners, the conferences, they don't want to look bad by putting somebody in a position that has had problems with the law and other things, because if they do and something happens, everybody's going to look at them and say, why did I pick this person? Why do we use this person? And we got 10 other people who don't do this type of stuff. So just things that you got to talk. Tyreek's a police officer, so he can tell you the things that conversations with him about people that have had legal issues and how it affects their career. So be careful and mindful of those things. Okay. And I'll even just even a quick story about the social media, but I think this is important because everybody can identify with this. There was an official that was an alternate of regional final this past year, about 5 years ago, maybe a little before that. He's from Louisiana, and Tyreek probably knows what I'm talking about. He's from Louisiana, and he took a trip overseas. This is way before he became a Division I official. And he took a picture with LSU shirt, just saying, "Hey, I'm in Paris." LSU shirt. It was on his social media. Now, why do we all get into this? We're a fan of somebody, we like somebody, and trust me, I'm guilty of this because I'm a big Michigan fan. I'd let that be known, this, that, the other. But if that ever gets to a point, I gotta scrape that down too. But I was born in Ann Arbor. But my point is, here was this guy that was from Louisiana, had an LSU shirt. He ended up years later working the LSU Tennessee game. And then the game, there were some controversial, whether flagrants or whatever that were called in the course of the game. Do you know somebody went through his social media and found this shirt for LSU, and they reported it to the conference and everything like that? And that simple thing got him suspended most of the year. He was supposed to work the NCAA tournament. He didn't work the NCAA tournament that year. And it took him a while to get back. He actually was an alternate on one of the games. I won't say what game, it doesn't matter. But he was an alternate at a regional final this past year. But it took him a while to get back to that because I think he didn't work the tournament for like 2 years, and then he slowly but surely, because he was working some pretty big games, and he's kind of recovered a little bit from it. But it stunted his growth for 2 or 3 years, where he probably could be close to working a Final Four, at least working on at least the floor for regional final or something like that, all because of that. And we've all been involved. If you work varsity and some playoffs, my name has been mentioned on social media. You got to be careful how you respond to that stuff. I mean, and wasn't because I wanted to be, it was because somebody made a comment and used my name. So it can happen to any of us. So we got to be very careful with what we're doing, especially if you got bigger and larger goals. Okay. So that's pretty much all I wanted to discuss. I was willing to go over some video, but I don't really want to go through that and take up everybody's such time tonight because we got so many other things. Guys, are there any questions or anything that you want to ask about anything that we talked about tonight? Because I think this is important. And if you don't say something, I'm gonna call on you and make you say something, because we want feedback from individuals who have not spoken tonight.
And also too, kind of let us know so far, since you've been a part of IAABO, like the resources that you've taken advantage of, like what have you benefited from it, thus far, if anything, because again, we can pass this information on back to the administration as well. So, so if you got any questions or any comments or plays or situations that you maybe been tough for you to deal with, the floor is open for you guys to, comment.
I'll go. This is Joe. First off, as far as the resources with the organization, the RQ questioning that you send, those random emails, have been very helpful for me. Because it's convenient, because I get them. I travel a lot, and I get a chance to see a lot of plays, so I do review those regularly. I may have to reach out to you. I couldn't get access actually on the website to get access to more videos, but I'll work through that. But the videos that we received when I first got my welcome packet, the book, that we received, the manual, what have you, extremely comprehensive. I use that a lot. What I really liked was the pregame card that they had there. That was extremely comprehensive. We talked about a few things, and particularly, when do you go out of your primary, that type of thing, those concepts. But the information has been extremely helpful for me. Jeff, this is not totally related to this group, but the plays and stuff that you put on your website, on Facebook, as you know, I'm on those regularly. You and I've had some conversations. It's been very helpful. So, and then the overall discussion about what to do at the camp for me has been helpful. My challenge is I'm older in age from an official standpoint, and I'm trying to move up. And then what do I do in the interim? And just some of those things have helped me. But that might be something I might reach out, talk to you all about as to how I do that, because I started late from an official standpoint. So
How long have you been officiating?
Just over 11 years. I've officiated with Pamela. We've done several games together. And, I haven't had the privilege of working with Jeff or anybody like that in the regular game, but yeah. And Clarence, I've been to the camp. I did you and Tyreek's camp, the camp we had when we started, the one we're not doing this year. I've been around,
Yep,
So
I remember.
So yeah. Yeah. So, but that's my thing. I stay in shape. I'm in good shape, and I'm reading. I'm doing everything. It's just I started later, so that's what I have to do. But
Well, keep working hard. That's the main thing.
yeah, I'm with you.
Somebody has a question. It said, is there any good camps you guys can recommend for beginning referees? Pam, you want to jump on that? Pam?
We have several. Are you speaking of elementary, high school, or collegiate? Are you speaking of high school or collegiate?
Lou, you can.
Well, high school, we have several in the area, and pretty much we have really, really great camps in the area. There's there's Next Level, there's Nate Hunter Camp, which has been around, which actually is one of the first to start, from which everybody else came from for the camps they're holding now. So they, good training that we're all passing on to everyone else, and that's what we do. It's about the training. If you're well trained, you can go anywhere to work, and people will want you to come back.
Mm-hmm.
So that's Marvin has one we combined last year, and then Vernell we combined last year. Instead of having like 10 or 12, we combined and we ended up with like 30, 35. And then Next Level has ongoing ones during the summer for the different leagues at the park. Those are the pretty much the very good ones in the area that go on mostly during the summer.
I'm not sure.
Wherever you want to work, for like Jeff said, if you work in Indiana, there's ones there. If you want to go to different collegiate camps, again, figure out where you want to go and whatever you want to work in. And my suggestion would be, before you go to your camps, especially your first ones, contact one of us, because we've been there. I know it. Speaking to Tariq, when I first started going to camps is when they first started having collegiate camps. So we didn't have social media. We did everything. Paperwork, testing, a lot of stuff, a lot of written work, hand-done work, camera, videotaping, etc., etc. But the tenets are still the same. Okay, like they told us, watch what you say, where you are. Even now, regardless of social media, things get around very fast. Telephone, telegraph, telegraph. And that's all they ever told us. That's right.
That's true.
It's that the most important things was what you did outside of basketball, because that really speaks to your personality.
And let me reiterate that with other camps. I know for those that know, Harry Bone was the assigner for about 3 different high school camps and a college camp. He is retired, so he is not, to my knowledge, having any more camps related to high school basketball. So there's like basically all his conferences were split up between, at least the high school ones were split up between 3 different people, and his college camp is, so there's might be some information coming out with what they're doing, but Joliet basketball officials are having a camp here in May and June. The COA is having a camp in somewhere around, I think the classroom is going to be in May, and some of the games are in June between Loyola and Glenbrook South. I will send out information for those that want to go to those camps. The COA one is primarily associated with the Catholic League, but there's, I think Steve Onaki, who signs a D3, is having a camp as well, but he will also be at that one if you just want to, start the process of getting some information to go to his stuff. He's also having one in late June. I'll even talk about the college ones for the area. Again, we don't know who's going to have the CCAC, which is Harry's camp, so there might be one coming up. Yeah, I'm not talking about that until you tell me something different. But then part of the reason we're saying that because Tyreek is up for it, he may get it. So if he gets it, that will change what we're going to do at the camp. That's why if you haven't heard anything about our camp that we ran for 2 years, that's partly why we're waiting to get some information about that. So I'll just put that out there. But Bill Ack is a part of an organization called the Elite Officiating. I only say that because he has conferences in the area called the Northern whatever Athletic Conference, or NAC or whatever, and he assigns the GLIAC, which is Division II conference, where Roosevelt will be coming into the league, which is out of Chicago, but the closest schools to us are like Purdue Northwest and whatever. It's just something to think about. He has a camp in Pittsburgh in a few weeks. They probably don't go to that, but he has one in Oakland, Michigan. I think he'll be having one at the end of June. Again, Steve Onaki will be having a camp for Division III. He assigns a CCIW, the Midwest Conference. And he kind of is involved with the NAC a little bit with Bill as well. Those leagues right now that the two with Steve's are kind of under what called the Big Ten Consortium. The Big Ten is even having a camp in Chicago area. They're having 3 others. There's one in Memphis, one in Las Vegas, one in Pennsylvania. I wouldn't suggest go to those if you just want to try it. I'm just saying, I'm not just saying that those are opportunities for you to go to those camps as well. But there's one in Chicago at the Wintrust Arena as well. And then there's a couple others in the other area, which you probably got to apply for. And I can send out some of that information so that you kind of at least know about them. Because again, we've had some supervisor changes throughout the country. So these things so if it's not this year or it's next year, at least you kind of know who the contact information is to attend those camps. But definitely attend a high school camp or something. That I know Joe Ewers is having a camp. He assigns the Southland. He picked up the Southland last year, so he's having a camp somewhere in, I think, around Bourbonnais, sometime around June as well. But I can compile all that information, and we can send all that out so that you can register, because I'm sure there are slots. And I would say, again, if you work in one league, try to work in another. Try to work somewhere close, because again, that helps you when they start considering playoffs for other officials, because they do know where you work, at least by rating. So, like for example, you got ratings in the CPS, Chicago Catholic Schools, the Central Suburban, and whatever. You're a better candidate for opportunities if they need someone for a regional, because you've worked different schools. That is a part of the process. And then when we find out who the new administrator is, I will sure to have that person on with us to try to talk about some stuff. Also, we have some things. Clarence and I also might be involved in some stuff with the state as well, dealing with some training and things of that nature that will be IAABO. Also, I forgot, I didn't mention this, but I'm going to mention this earlier, is that we are going to try to become a licensed association in the state of Illinois. I'm kind of working on that process right now. If we get it in, I think by the end of May, I think we should be a licensed association. So that's another little benefit to our being a member of IAABO in Illinois. But again, we're going to be a regional organization, because there really isn't any throughout Illinois. I think there's one in St. Louis. There's a group in St. Louis, but we have all Illinois, and parts of Indiana is open to us because there's no chapters. And I want to get as many members and people that would be involved to help us as much as possible. So
I have to say this too: if you guys know anybody that may be interested in IAABO, let us know. We definitely, would love to have more people be a part of this. Because again, the whole goal is to try to get everybody on the uniform page, so that we all doing everything the same way, no matter what conference you're working, no matter where you are. If you're here, if you all the way across the country, it doesn't matter. The whole goal is to be, have a uniformity. So that's really kind of the general goal of IAABO. And I know I didn't mention this earlier, but IAABO is more so focused on the training aspect of basketball officiating, whereas the federation is focused on like the rules and regulations and guidelines. So they're not the same. It's kind of, one is piggybacking off the other, so they kind of working hand in hand. So that's really, the backstory as to why IAABO even got started. Was to help train basketball officials, which I think they've done an excellent job of that. I mean, you got 15,000 members worldwide, you must be doing something right, in multiple countries. So you must be doing something right. So, but that's the backstory to it. So yeah, if you know anybody that's interested in joining, talk about your experience, talk about, some of the things that we got coming down the pipeline. Again, don't forget the fall seminar is going to be in Albany, New York. I know Jeff and I are going to try our best to get out there to participate this year. It's in September. I think I put it in the chat earlier. I'll repost it again for those that may be interested in attending. Again, if you're an IAABO member, it's free for you. You don't have to pay a registration fee. You know, you just have to pay your own transportation and, you know, other expenses like food and what have you. But, you know, definitely it's something you may want to take advantage of, kind of meet other officials across the country. One thing I have noticed though, you know, being in IAABO is that they are doing a good job of trying to get everybody on the same page as far as officiating, but there are some different styles in different parts of the country.
Yes.
You know, so I know me and Jeff was talking about that just this past weekend or last week, how just in between Illinois and Indiana is just a difference of night and day of officiating in basketball. You know, I mean, Jeff can explain it better than I can because he works in both states, but you know, I didn't know that.
Illinois, downstate, and
Yeah.
upstate.
Well, even but I would even say this: Illinois downstate is way better than most of Indiana, and I say that
now,
because
they're getting better.
Because we have a lot of, you know, we don't realize how privileged we are in the Chicagoland area, how good our basketball is. We have basketball that is extremely good compared to other parts of the country. If you've ever worked on a tournament someplace else or high school, anything someplace else, you will see it's night and day. So we have we have some things that we talk about. When I post videos, I got to be conscious that I'm working with guys that are in different parts and don't see the kind of level of basketball that we see. Even when we think we don't have the good Division I players, it's amazing when I look at the Division I or when I look at the Final Four. There's always 2 or 3 Illinois kids somewhere in those teams, and the teams aren't anywhere from Illinois. I mean, you know, and it sometimes be starters that is an Illinois kid. I remember when Virginia and Texas Tech played a few years ago. There were like 3 Division I. There were 3 starters between the 2 programs that were from Illinois, and you would have never thought that. And now Lance Jones, who I had his very last high school game, is on Purdue and integral player on that. Even though they got a bunch of Indiana players, but you know, Illinois kids are everywhere, and so what we try to teach you, at least in this organization, is really how to officiate in the real world where we're doing. But IAABO is going to teach you the nuts and bolts of what it is to get there and how to do certain things right. And also the other thing you may not realize, that even if we do something in Illinois, if we know that it's something different in Illinois, we can have our books tailored to stuff in Illinois. So we used to have a rule mechanically where we wouldn't bounce the ball in the end line, and now that rule's no longer. But if it was something like that and they want us to do something, I'm gonna try to work to get our long switch situation in the book. If we're still doing that, Harry has kind of left, so I don't know if we're still doing that same philosophy. But you know, those are little things that we can do to help normalize what we have in our books, because they can put it for Illinois. They can send them out based on Illinois. And then if you live in Indiana, which I'm not sure anybody on the call does, but we could do stuff that are tailored to Indiana, even though Indiana pretty much follows the National Federation. So just some things to think about. Guys, any other feedback, any other things that you are thinking about? Again, no question is stupid. I want to make sure that we get your questions answered, or some ideas of what we're doing and what we need to do better. Rhonda, were you about to say something?
Yeah. I mean, it's about it's about something you posted on Facebook. I don't know if you had. I mean, you had posted about it was it was 2 defenders. They were trying to lock up a player, and he made an elbow, and they called a player control foul. And you were talking about it should have been actually a foul when the 2 defenders ran up on the ball handler.
Are you talking about the cylinder play that they looked at?
I know we don't do cylinders in
Right,
high school,
right.
but the fact that you said like how they usually like run up on the player like that, you know, to box them in, and you were saying that should have been a foul. Did you mean in college, or you were saying in high school?
Okay, let me clarify this so that everybody knows what I'm talking about. When I posted a video from the NC State, I want to say Marquette game, which was a semifinal in the regional, and there was a player on the big kid that came up. I'm assuming we're talking about the same play. He comes up to him, and he's in his
Yes.
space, and then the big guy from North Carolina State elbows the kid and throws him out of the way. Correct,
Right.
and he fell to the ground. What in college is they have a rule called a cylinder. And to make a long story short is that you have to be able to give a player space within their movement. So if there's contact, if you're in their cylinder as a defender or as an opponent, it is a foul on the person that doesn't allow them to move. Okay. But I'm glad you mentioned that because that leads to something I think that we need to know. We need to know when we're watching those things what the differences are. And the reason I'm saying we need to know the differences is because in high school, we don't have a quote unquote cylinder. So in high school, that probably would have been appropriate to be a player control foul, or we maybe should have called a foul before the bump when he was kind of all up on him and just called the foul because he kind of displaced him or kind of moved his rhythm, speed, balance, and quickness a little bit. But when he threw the elbow, what they can do is when they are considering a flagrant foul, they can look at the monitor and then re-officiate the play. They used to not be able to do that. Tyree could maybe talk a little bit about that, but they can re-officiate the play. But the reason I post sometimes videos from college is because the one thing that I think we need to do is we need to become students of the game. Because what's going to happen is that you're going to have a coach who saw that this weekend in your game, and they're going to say, well, wasn't he in his cylinder? And then you're going to call a foul based off of something that either doesn't apply or you are not aware of the difference. So what I think is imperative that when we watch games on television, that we don't just take it from the lens of what they did in college or what they did in this other game. How does this apply to the level that we work? And if you're a student of the game, you should be able to do that. We get so much in our feelings about, well, a play is from college and we think because it's in college, but no, how am I going to adjudicate that play? Because if I saw that play, I'm probably either called a foul. If I didn't call a foul, I'm going to call the elbow and the player control foul like they called, but we can't go to the monitor at high school level to go re-officiate that play. They can because of the nature of that play.
How about a violation for excessive elbow?
What's that?
How about a violation maybe for excessive elbow swinging? In high school, we can do that, right?
Well, if you throw an elbow, you can officiate the play based off of the elbow. Now, there was a few years ago an interpretation about elbows to the head and neck area, which they never really clarified. It was a POE one year, and then it went away. And now they clarified that elbows can be incidental and or can be upgraded depending on what we see. And that's the things that you should talk about in your game. So how do we officiate if we have a kid who throws an elbow and hits somebody? Are we going to stick with a certain kind of foul or can we upgrade that foul? Those are things that, because again, they happen in these games that we're watching on television. How are we going to handle that? I always talk about it in my pre-games. It's like, we got to be our own monitor. So if something happens, we can't go to nothing to look at it. We got to talk to each other like, hey, do you got any information to help us out? Because if I got that foul, is that you got a intentional foul? Do you have a flagrant foul? Remember, flagrant in our game is an ejection. So we got to, so if me, Pam, and Clarence are working on a game and something happens in that game, a kid goes hard to the floor. One of the things I've talked about in my pre-games is like, guys, give me some information if you have it. Or I might go to you and be like, Pam, I know you're in the backcourt, but do you have any information to help me on this call? Because I think I have an upgrade, but I'm not sure. And she might tell me I'm way too far away. I don't have anything. And I might go to Clarence and Clarence says, well, he grabbed him, he did this, or she grabbed her and she did this, and we make a decision based off of that. Those are the kind of things, the reason why I show video, because they get 3 and 4 different angles to show them plays, where we get on our high school video or low-level college video, one video, and we sometimes don't get a good angle, and the video quality stinks, and we got to make a decision. But how are we going to handle that as a crew so that we're right? And then when we go talk to the coaches, this is what we're talking about but in college, what I saw on television, they did this. That's a college rule. And I'll give you a great example. Backboard plays. Balls that are going to the backboard and people slap the backboard. Happened in the 3A game last year with Semyon and Metamora. Play was off the rim. Kid misses a block, hits it, goes off. Semyon bench goes nuts. Absolutely crazy. The whole bench is like, oh my God, that's got to be a basket interference. It's got to be a goaltending. It's not in our level. At the college level, it is. So and I don't know what the officials told them, but my answer to them would have been like, guys, we're applying a college rule. You want us to apply a college rule to a high school rule. That's not what we do. Like that's a high school. That's not a high school rule.
So I know the difference.
What's that?
So you got to know the difference.
Right. You got to know the difference. And sometimes that's the explanation. Football officials, those who do football in this room, we have this all the time. Like there's tons of rules in football there are 300 something rules from high school to pro, like 280 from college to high school. And when you do a high school game, there's all this time where they try to get you to call a rule based off of a college rule or a pro rule. And our usually answer to that is, guys, that's a Saturday rule. That doesn't even apply to us. And I don't go into no big explanation. Guys, that's a Saturday rule. Even college, there's some clock rules that are different. I said, guys, that's a Friday rule. We're not doing high school anymore. We're doing college. And sometimes that will help you with the conversation. But if you know that, instead of trying to explain to them the whole rule and why you did what you did, that's why I think you got to become a student of the game. Become a student of the game.
And while you mentioning that, just a FYI for those that don't know, the IHSA may possibly be going to shot clock starting in the 26-27 season. So, of course, we know that has to do with, schools getting funding for, to get the shot clocks installed, buy them, all that kind of stuff, the electrical, all those things, and getting people trained, of course, which in my opinion is going to probably fall on mostly the officials. So we're going to have to know that in order to train people, but you got to know shot clock. So guess what? A lot of camps this summer are starting to do shot clock. Guess what? You need to be trying to find those camps so that you can learn the rules of shot clock. When do you reset? What is the reset? When don't you reset? And same thing, you're going to have players, coaches, and fans that's sitting up here complaining, oh no, this, that, and the other, because they're thinking of an NBA rule or a college rule, even though they don't know the rules, but that's just what they see. So that's what they want to apply. Game, but you need to know the difference. So FYI, knowing that, guess what? 26-27 season may officially start with IHSA with shot clock. Guess what I will be doing? I'll be doing my very best to be trying to study games with shot clock. Why? Because you want to be ready when that time comes. Why? Because if you're trying to move up the ladder, you don't want to wait till the 26-27 season and say, oh, let me start learning shot clock. You want to get ahead of the game a couple of years ahead. So that way, by the time that time comes, you should be close to your A game or on your A game when it comes to shot clock, because there is a difference with shot clock.
And there's some regulations that are mechanically different with shot clock, because there are like even there camp or tournaments right now that were this past year that were all shot clock games, like the York tournament, the Proviso West tournament, I think the Dipper. There were tons of tournaments across which are listed. You can actually use shot clock, and we had debates over, hey, do we have a 5-second count on the dribble, or do we have a 10-second count coming up the floor, which they are recommendations and they're kind of guidelines that we use, but those are things that you need to get in the habit of doing. And I would say the one thing that helps me in high school games is, when I do small college, going to high school games, is now I am a way better clock official, not just shot clock, because I'm usually the one who can figure out where the clock didn't start, how much time, and if we have a situation, I can correct it immediately without having to go to any kind of monitor or anything like that. So you need to, so that's why I post some videos about shot clock, and probably we'll start doing more of that, because that's going to become a part of our thought process. Like, heck, my count, I want my count to be 10 seconds if I'm giving it visually, but I also want to know every time that ball's put in play, when did that clock start? Where's the violation if we have it, so I can help either myself or my partners out, so I know what we're doing if there's a malfunction. So
I say this too, while we don't have shot clock, it's it's very vital that everybody know the rules to the game now, because when the shot clock comes, you're adding a whole nother set of rules on top of the rules that you're already learning. And you got to process those plays even faster now, because you got more things to be responsible for. So again, try to get out there. If you find any camps or games or whatever that's using shot clock, even if you're not working it, go watch it, or there's a bunch of high school games on YouTube. You can just type in that's using shot clock, because I think they said right now there's about 14 states throughout the country that are using shot clock. I know Minnesota, they're using shot clock. New York is doing for high school girls, they're using NCAA rules, well, modified NCAA rules with shot clock. Minnesota's using college rules, partially, modified with
And
shot
New
clock.
York has had shot clock for 20-some years. Minnesota just got it a couple years ago, but we're about to have every state in the Midwest is about to have a shot clock, because I think Iowa approved it, Michigan approved it. I'm talking about for next year. So they've approved these already. So it's coming. And we're gonna have it in tournaments and special games. And I think what's gonna happen in Illinois, this is what I think is gonna happen. I think what is gonna happen, you're going to work certain conferences, and they're going to say, we're going to use shot clock for those games. And then when the state tournament comes, we won't use shot clock. So basically what will happen is, if you work a CPS red division, I'm just using that as an example, maybe they use the shot clock for all their games and all their in-conference games and any non-conference games they want to use. And then what's going to happen is that, okay, we won't use it statewide until whatever, and then they will implement it later in the playoffs. So I think that actually is going to happen, because I don't know how many schools that I went to this year that have shot clocks somewhere in the building. It just wasn't, they weren't turned on. So it's coming. They know it's coming. They're expecting it to come. So we got to get ready for it. And just because you said shot clock doesn't mean you got to pay attention to the clock just because the shot clock. Pay attention to the clock. Know when it starts, know when it stops, know if it runs for 5 seconds and you know when it is. Know if you have a foul near the end of a game. All those things, if you are a great clock official, it'll make your game so much better. And I know Tyreek knows this, because at least they can go look at the monitor and messed up to see their mess ups. But we can't. We got one shot. When 10 seconds runs off the clock, and trust me, it doesn't mean I get them all right. I just have been in situations where they claim 10 seconds ran off the clock, and there are times I'm like, crap, I don't know where that clock was. But I've gotten better to the point where I always have a timestamp on the clock when the ball, even if it's not my play. It started at 7:23. And then, so I can give information if okay, and I'm counting in my head and everything like that to figure that out. So we got to get better at those things. And that's something I'm going to try to help everybody to get better at, because there's some techniques to do. So
let me just
one of those techniques is start getting used to, every time you blow the whistle, you glance at the clock. So you know what the time is on the clock. And soon it just becomes so automatic, even in games with running clock. You get a glance at the clock. Time is such and such. So anything happens, remember, if the clock goes out, the clock is out. Everything else you can take care of. You can get the fouls out of the book. You can get the points out of the book. You, as the official, have to know what the time is that's on the clock.
Jeff,
and then
Pam,
the shot clock, you got to do both.
Right.
But Jeff, Pam, Tyreek, Clarence, if y'all have any influence at all, we need the shot clock as soon as we can get it in Illinois.
Well, what happens with Illinois, with the IHSA, is they generally give schools 4 or 5 years to get whatever kind of new rule is coming. So if it's not here this year, it'll definitely be in by next year, because they've given you, so nobody can say IHSA, we didn't have the funds, we didn't have, so they give them 4 and 5 years to get it. And of course, they see the importance of getting it now. Everybody's doing the shot clock.
Right, because we're about to be the only state, or us in Indiana about to be the only state that doesn't have it coming up this coming year. Kentucky, I mean, just literally Tennessee, all these states have shot clocks.
It adds so much value to the game. The game that I did with a shot clock last year, the competitiveness and what it does toward the end of the game versus teams just pulling it out, it just adds so much to the brand of the game.
But we know that, but there's so many programs in Illinois, especially downstate, smaller country towns, that just can't afford that. And so they've given them 4 or 5 years to start getting the resources or make resources available for them so that they can do it. Because, yeah, that's it. Going back to what Jeff said, and this has always been true. The Midwest has the best talent on the average, percentage-wise, of all of the United States in mostly all your sports, especially basketball, football, etc. On the average, we have the best talent. And with that being said, we want to keep maintaining that. So we have to definitely keep up with the trends. You as officials, continuing education. That's all camps is and me, is continuing education. The players are always going to be 13 to 19. We have to keep up with their level of athleticism if we want to stay in this game. College players are going to be what? 18 to 22, whatever, 23. They don't have to keep up with us. We have to keep up with them. And the trend is now shot clock. Players want to play. Why do you think all these teams come to the Chicago area every summer to play here? Because we have the best types of talent.
Mhm.
And they want to play. They want to get better. It used to be downstate. Oh, they would never come to Chicago. They would never play anybody in the Red West. Well, then they started playing because they want to get better too. They don't. If you don't see a better style of playing, then you can't do better sometimes. You don't know what's out there. Same thing like Jeff said, going to different camps in different areas to see the talent. And just as a side note, someone was speaking, Tariq, when you were talking about GLVC with Jerry. A long time ago, I went to GLVC camp and I had to go to Kentucky, and it was so backwoods, I had to take the bus to the camp. A bus. But anyway, I said that to say that the level of play there, it made me look like I was an NBA official because the play was so slow, so to speak, and not as competitive. But it was just, I was the only one from Chicagoland area at the time. But Jerry had me come because he wanted them to see how great mechanics look, because we stress mechanics. Your mechanics sell everything, you know. And it was a learning experience for me because I had never seen, let's say, slow basketball like this on the high school level at the time.
Almost like wheelchair basketball.
Well, no, not that slow. But I'm just saying and it brought to me, yeah, we need to get out and see more. We need to train more people in these areas so that they can do better. So continuing education on all levels for players, for coaches, for officials.
Does anybody have any questions for us in regards to like maybe some plays that you guys have had this season or just in the past, or something that you kind of wanted to just like, I had this situation, not sure if I funded it right or just whatever?
Yes, I did. That's why I'm glad Jeffrey brought up that goaltending. I had
Were you still there?
been haunting me since the playoffs.
Okay.
Yeah, hello?
Go ahead. You can
Hey,
froze
Rona.
for a second.
So with the goaltending, you were saying, because I had a game and the offender put the ball on the glass on the backboard, and then the defender came behind and hit the ball off the backboard. Now, when I go back and read, now everybody was excited, like, "Oh, that's goaltending, goaltending." We didn't, my two partners, we didn't call anything. And in the rule book, it doesn't say anything about if they bother the ball off the glass or the backboard. Goaltending only talks about if they make a try for the basket and it's in a downward flight. It says nothing about the backboard. So I'm forever haunted because I don't know. I've heard one person who told me yes, that was goaltending, and one person tell me in the rule book does it say goaltending? If it touched the glass, so I'm just
Okay, can you see my screen?
Yep.
yes.
Okay, this is the play I'm talking about. I'm turning it down a little bit.
Did you optimize it, Jeff? Because it's kind of choppy.
Okay, hold on. Let me.
Yeah, stop sharing, see if you can optimize it just in
Okay,
case.
hold on.
But that's a great question, Rona. I think a lot of officials, and I know when I was coming up through the ranks, that's one of the toughest calls to make, especially when it's a bang play where it happens so fast. You know, I mean, Tyreek, Pam, Jeff, we've all had that play, and you like kind of scratch your head for a second, like, okay, was that a goal team? Was that a basket difference? Like, what was it? You know, because it happened so fast.
Can
But
you see it now? Just by
Yep.
curiosity.
Yep, we can see it now.
We've played a minute in the fourth quarter. Ripper finds Ripper.
So look at the time and the score of this particular situation. It was tied in the fourth quarter when this happened. There's another replay of this. Get the screen, but that was legal too. But that's how big and they teach you at the other level. Know the consequence of your whistle. So look what the coach is doing. He's going crazy about this play. They just watch it again. See, he thinks it's a goaltending. He's convinced.
Just mentally, as a Simeon player, because they were upset because that was a goaltend because the backboard was smacked by a Redbirds player. You cannot interfere with the rim or the backboard when the shot is on the rim.
And he's incorrect in his assessment because in order to be goaltending, first off, let's go over this real quick. In order to be goaltending, there has to be four things in goaltending. And since I don't want to be talking, somebody tell me what those four things are.
It's got to be above the rim. It's got to have an opportunity to go in.
What else?
Downward flight.
Yeah, downward flight. Yes.
Downward flight. There's one more. That's a big
in the cylinder.
What does it have to be? What's the status of the ball?
That's more basket interference, probably. So
it has to be a shot.
Has to be a try.
Legitimate shot. Has to be a try.
So it has to be start first. It has to be a try.
First try.
It has to be completely above the rim. In other words, the ball has to be completely above the rim. It has to have a chance to go in, and it has to be on its downward flight. If any four of those things don't apply, it can never be goaltending. Now, that's goaltending. What about basket interference? What are the requirements of basket?
Yeah, and
that's one, but what has to happen when it's in the cylinder?
You can't touch it while it's in the cylinder.
You can't touch the ball or anything else?
You can't touch the ball or the basket while it's in the cylinder.
Okay, what's the basket?
Well, I mean, the goal. Let's say the goal.
Goal. It has to be in the cylinder playing the goal.
Okay, if it's in the cylinder, you cannot touch the net.
The net or the ring, right?
The rim
or the
ball, but in any part of the ball can be in the cylinder. It also doesn't matter if it's a try. A try doesn't apply to that necessarily. It could be the ball just got knocked into the area and you wipe the ball off, and it doesn't matter. It could be offensive or defensive violation. So this, for our rules, is not illegal. So the officials passed on this properly. Okay? But I say that because that's if you don't know the rule, there are a lot of officials that would rule this a basket interference or goaltending in our rule. Now in college, that's the rule. So if they hit the backboard and in the opinion of the official, if the ball was affected by the shaking of the rim by hitting it, regardless of it's a legitimate attempt, it can be basket interference by rule in NCAA men's. I think even NCAA women's, this is not the rule. But that's why you got to know that, because that should have been part of their explanation to tell them that's not our rule. Now, I say that because one of the best ways I've told this a long time ago, one of the best ways to have a rule applied or changed is not to call it how the rule is. So is that kind of a ridiculous rule to some extent? I agree. It is. Probably, maybe when I first started, in the 90s, we didn't have as many of these plays. Now these plays are coming up almost every game. or some kind of backboard. The only thing we can have, and anybody know the only thing we could have technically in this situation if we wanted to call it? What's the only thing we could call by blowing our whistle?
Wow, I guess.
What's that? A technical foul.
Yeah, technical foul because of the slap on the back, but that wasn't that. He went for a block.
Right, but there's only a technical foul if we do not have a legitimate attempt at the
no intent. There's no intent to block the shot.
If that's what you judge. But I would say this: you better be very careful calling that because that's rarely called. And I think he's trying to get the ball, he misses it.
Yeah.
But the point is that's just our rule. Now, what's great is that's why they do these surveys, because if you recall in the survey, they asked this question of whether we should change the rule for hitting the backboard. So I actually think, and I'm just a hunch.
You should change it.
I think that this might be a rule change for this coming year. But as of right now, and if they don't change it, they applied this rule perfectly. Now, this game went on to overtime, and as you see, he went on and shot a three-pointer and took a three-point lead. So that's how big that call was in this particular situation. But by rule, that was not illegal. Okay? So that's kind of the reason why I wanted to show that.
And I want to say this too. The plays like that are plays that you want to discuss. You want to talk to your partners, your crew about, because again, these players, especially the boys, I mean, girls too, but the boys are playing a lot above the rim action, very athletic plays, very aggressive plays. And you need to see, like, having discussions about plays like this will help you when you get on the court next time you see something like that, because now you'll know, oh, the rule is this, not that, and you'll know how to apply it appropriately. So that's why we want to have discussions like this as well, to talk about play scenarios and situations, or how to deal with coaches, or whatever the case may be.
Now, this is for Rhonda because you talked about it, so I found it. This is the play you were talking about. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Fights through it. Offensive foul. Wow. I thought they violated his cylinder, actually. I think he might be right. Right? All right, thank you. So the foul was called on TJ Burns. We'll look back at that call as he was wheeling inside two defenders in the area, and it was called an offensive foul. The officials have huddled up. They've looked at it, and the determination, at least from our conversation,
that's a cylinder call.
This call, and it was Stevie Mitchell that committed the foul. They said on the...
Now, the reason I want to also talk about this too, because look what number 4 did. He's like all in his space.
Right, that's why. Yeah.
And bumping him.
And he bent his knee. He bent his knee.
Right. So he's in his space. So from a high school officiating process, and even as a college officiating process, that we probably shouldn't ignore. Like, I know sometimes we think, oh, well, it didn't really affect anything, this, that, the other. But I can make an easy case that his rhythm, speed, balance, and quickness was affected by this little bump. So just because it doesn't knock him down or doesn't make him travel doesn't mean that that's not a foul.
Well, Jeff, real quick, talk about size and strength too.
Right.
So because he's big, right?
DJ Burns, 300 pounds. Yeah, he
didn't have to extend his elbow. He could have gotten out.
Right. Well, and then here's the other part of this is because if we call the first foul and then he does that, could we have something else?
You get flagrant one.
Are we going to ignore the contact? And I'm not saying one way or the other. I'm just asking for us to because these are the things that need to go through your head.
They can review the flagrant one elbow, but they can't change the call they made. Or did they change the call from offensive charge to a cylinder foul?
They changed it to a cylinder call because in college rules they
they did call the foul first, correct?
Well, because they called a foul and they are doing a flagrant review. When they do a flagrant review, they can go back and relitigate parts of that play that anything that might have, let's say there was no contact on the elbow whatsoever. He could go back and say, well, we noticed there was no contact, so we can say there's no foul. That's what they can do at that level. But at our level, we can't do that.
So let me interrupt real quick. So I talked to the officials that was on this game right after that, and they knew it wasn't a flagrant foul, but they also thought it was a cylinder foul. So in order to go to the monitor, they use the verbiage, we're going to look for a flagrant. Even though we know it's not, it just gives us the liberty to go look at it. And that was the reason why they went.
Gotcha.
But it was clearly not a flagrant foul. They knew that already. But
I'm glad you brought that play up, Jeff, because during the Drake Indiana State game, the kid cracked the other kid in the face with an elbow. He was in the cylinder. They didn't call the cylinder foul, unfortunately. The ball got passed. The ball went in the net, counted the shot, and then they went to the monitor for the flagrant one. Got the flagrant one, but unfortunately they didn't call the foul. They couldn't call a cylinder foul. It was pretty unique in a circumstance. I learned a lot just by watching the game. Right. So that was a good thing. So, and yeah, go ahead, sir. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to.
I was going to say I really hope that the high school association goes to the college rule on these goaltendings when the ball hits the backboard, because you have to explain to coaches all the time, because they're so used to seeing the college goaltending when the ball hits the backboard, the kid slaps it and it's goaltending. In high school, if that ball hits that backboard and they hit the ball, if it's not on its downward flight, that's not goaltending. It has to be on its downward flight. It can hit the backboard and it can get slapped away. That's not goaltending in high school.
Right.
And see, that's the reason why I showed these plays, because I want us to think like, okay, if this happens in our game, what are we going to do? So if this happens in our game, this is just what I'm going to probably do. I'm probably, if I didn't have the infinite wisdom, which I should have had, to call the first foul, I'm probably going to call the player control foul, which necessarily ain't right. But it just, seeing the video probably now makes me think, okay, now we got to really call these bumps, because that's what's happening. They're bumping them, and he's a big kid, so you're not moving him in any meaningful way. So we got to be aware of those type of situations so that when these things happen, we're prepared to know what we're going to do. And if he throws the elbow after, and I'm not saying we should, but it's a dead ball at that point. So now we got to consider, or possibly consider, is it a technical foul? Because is it an intentional or flagrant act? And I don't think it necessarily is. I think he's just trying to play basketball. But you might have to have a conversation with the coach about that. Or you might be, as a partner, be like, hey, did you see the elbow? Do you have anything else on this elbow? And
So
you might...
Hold on, and I'm glad you mentioned that part. So one of the things that I know specifically myself when I'm doing training, is, especially with high school officials, is learning how to communicate properly to coaches and with explanation. Right. So somebody tell me, how would you explain that play to a coach if the coach asked, hey, why was there no call on that play? How would you explain that? Because again, we need to learn that. That's part of officiating as well. How do we communicate to coaches? How do we communicate to players to, provide explanation when we do have to explain ourselves? Somebody tell me, how would you explain that if I were a coach and I asked you, hey ref, how come you didn't have a foul on that play, or a flagrant foul, or offensive foul, or whatever? How would you explain that? Somebody tell me how you would explain it.
High school or college?
High school.
Is it are you talking about the cylinder call on the floor?
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever you want to level that you're at, just explain it to us how you would do it.
Well, tell us which level you're talking about.
I'm like, well, there's no call because in high school there's no cylinder call, because I'm sure that's what you're trying to talk about. However, if the offensive person shoves the other person out of the way, then that's an offensive charge. Yeah. Unfortunately, that's not what happened. He went to the two people. Yep. But what did you see? Tell me what you saw. I can help you out, and we can go over that really quick if we have time. I usually ask a question I always ask a question back to the coach. What did you see? What was your perception of this? What was your angle? What did you see?
But if you were going to explain that play, in my opinion, on based on what happened there, if you're going to call it a player control foul, the only thing you say is that the defender did establish legal guarded position. The offender did make a normal basketball move, but he displaced the defender.
And they
that's
call
why
it, they call it player control foul.
Yeah,
initially that's what they
right,
call player control.
Yeah, you call it player control foul. So if Clarence was asking what would be the explanation, if I had a player control foul, the defender had legal guard in position. The offensive player didn't make a legal basketball move, but he displaced the defender. So I got a player.
Are you gonna say all of that? You want to keep it in under 5 words or less?
Yeah.
In
But I was just
basketball terminology.
Yeah.
He created space illegally.
Illegally. There you go. Okay. Thank you.
Remember, short, concise response. If you have to respond, it has to be short and concise. You don't want to say too much, because now what the first thing the coach is gonna think, oh, well, you talking to me, I'm gonna talk back to you. So now we're gonna have a long conversation, and you try to fall in play, and you don't want to do that. Okay.
Thank you.
And also use rule book language from our code. So a lot of times coaches will come to us with code language from another level. They'll say that's a flagrant foul. Well, we got to sometimes back them off of that and be like, because they'll say it's a flagrant one. I don't know how many times this year I heard that's a flagrant one. That's a flagrant one. And like, coach, it's not a flagrant one because we don't have flagrant ones in our game. But he created space. It's a player control foul. It would only be an intentional, and it didn't happen that way, or blah, blah, blah. However you want to say it, depending on how much they argue or their veracity of that particular play.
So Tyreek, real quick, how would you explain that to a coach if he asked you, what did you see on that play?
Which one?
The cylinder play that we talked about.
Or after we changed it. Now, which one are we talking?
Before the elbow.
I'm saying they changed it. So are we saying after they changed it to a cylinder, or
yes. I'm sorry.
Yes.
So I say, coach, we saw the elbow, but we was looking at it, and the guy was in the cylinder first. We call the first foul. Now, to me, that's not a play we can really. Once you change it, the 5-word response won't work anymore, because now you got to explain why. So after you go to the monitor, there's always one official gonna go talk to this coach, one talk to this coach, one gonna talk to the media, or in the scores table. So the coach who we changed the call against is going to be the one that's going to take the most explanation, because now he's pissed off. He thought the big guy had a foul, another foul on him. So now he would have to sit down. That would have been the third, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big play in that particular game. So to try to give him a 5-word response may not work in that situation.
Yeah.
So that situation, you're probably, to be honest with you, you're probably going to get cursed out. And we might have to take it, because it's a such thing as, coach, it's just me and you talking. Go ahead, get it out. Okay, you done now? All right, we good. But to be sensitive in that situation, we really can't. So we have to let that coach kind of vent a little bit without going overboard or without embarrassing you. Walk him down, talk him down, and try to. Sometimes you just got to listen to him, because he's going to have a whole burst because of the situation. That's their best player. To have him get offensive foul, his third or fourth foul, is great. And then 2 minutes later, you take the foul off of him. So that's going to be an issue. So yeah, I would definitely just give him my little spiel, and then just let him just rant for a minute, and then be like, all right, coach, that's enough. You got it out. We're gonna go on now. We're gonna shoot the free throws. We're going on.
And yes, he's leading, but again, if that player gets taken out of the game, that changes the game. Like Tyreek said, what happened to Illinois and UConn? There was a 30-0 run.
That game didn't exist.
That was shameful.
That game didn't exist, bro.
That was a scrimmage.
Hey, Jeff Rutledge. I know it's getting late, but this is the play that I would like for you to root, because you got all these folks here that can give good insight. The technical foul with this game, when
this is what's up on the screen. Can you see my screen?
Yeah. Okay. I wanted to get y'all's opinion. Listen to that.
This is the play.
Thank you.
This is why I wanted to show it, because I knew. Okay. There's some replays on this one.
Nobody touched it. They're saying to touch. It was touched by NC State. I didn't know. Please, I know the box rule. I know what a critical juncture. He's just pleading. He's not arguing. And what happened, obviously, Kevin Keats called for it.
Now let's talk about the first part of this. Okay. We have a play where a defender is being surrounded. I mean, a ball handler being surrounded by 2 defenders, and goes up and
Loses the ball.
loses the ball. But right, wrong, or different, he loses the ball, and it goes and hits
Clock.
the clock or above the whatever, and it would be in our case probably a support or something.
Support.
It hits something else other than the backboard. Okay, so the lead official, who probably doesn't know because of his angle, doesn't know how that ball got there. So he legitimately asked for help to get help on this particular play. Okay, so he's not making a call immediately. So he's kind of like, well, something happened, and then they give him a technical foul in this interim, but
Who did they get a tech to?
But official,
the coach, he must have said something foul.
Well, there's more to it. So this is not just what he just said, but so, okay. So let's just say for whatever reason, we've not called a foul here at this particular point. So we didn't call a foul. Maybe we should have, but we didn't call a foul. So the elephant in the room is the ball hit the board. Now I'm gonna play this through because he didn't more than just say something. He did something too.
He stepped outside the box.
Okay, watch where he is at. He's right here. Now, just so you know, in college, they got 10 more feet from the 28-foot mark. Look where he goes after this play.
And you see Kevin Keats near the scores table there. Yeah, there it is.
He's almost at half court. Okay? So
look like some coaches I know.
You can't get a hand.
So, and I'm gonna tell you this. I think the official that stuck him was Doug Sermons.
Oh wow.
Doug Sermons doesn't give a damn. Doug Sermons has been in the Final Four many times, and I'll say this: once you get to a certain part of your career, you don't care about certain things like that. And if you don't know anything about Doug Sermons threw out John Calipari several years ago, and basically he has a long story about how they begged him to work a game in Kentucky again. He didn't want to go back. So he's at a place in his career where he doesn't give a rat's ass about what that coach did or what that coach was complaining about. So it looks like Doug Sermons got it. Now,
was Sermon the lead though? I don't know who Doug Sermon is. Was he the lead official in that? Or was he?
I think Pat Adams was.
He was a trail, I think.
He was a trail.
No, he's a trail. Matter of fact, you can see him.
All right.
He's a trail. He's right here. And it is Doug Sermons because Brian has white hair. So the other one was Michael Irvin, who's the black official that's on the side. So he goes crazy, and you can see Stug kind of go to him and stick him. Now, the thing is, we don't know what he said. We don't know what he said. We don't know what his actions were. We don't even know if they warned him during the course of the game. But it does look like Doug is telling him, dude, you at half court. You know about this play. Regardless of whether it's right or wrong, you're at half court. Now, Joe, I think you asked me a question, which I thought was a good question.
Yeah.
So what if they know they screwed this up?
Yes. That was my point. Yes.
Okay. Well, first of all, I don't think they knew that they screwed this up.
Okay.
I don't think they had a clue that they screwed this up. And I'm saying that because plays like this happen real fast. And think about what normally would happen. Why is the ball hitting the shot clock up above the thing? So obviously, well, if it hits the shot clock most of the time, either a foul or the defender hit the ball to make it go up there. So logically, they're thinking probably in the back of their mind, oh, that probably was just he hit the ball and whatever the case may be. Now, can we make a case that they was a foul? I think you can.
You can.
Yeah. You absolutely can make a case.
Right.
But at the time, you don't know this. And this is what I want also y'all to understand when you watch film, because these are situations that we may not know that we screwed this up. I may be confident that, oh, no, he just hit the ball and it went up there. I have no clue. And then go back later and see, oh, man, I really fucked that up. So you're not necessarily admitting to the coach at that moment that that's what happened. Like, I screwed it up. So you may not be giving him leeway because you think you got it right. But is his behavior enough to where we can ignore it or do something else? And that's the question you have to ask yourself. I'm not saying I know the answer to that because I've never been in that situation. I've never been in the NCAA tournament or regional final and know what they're evaluated on, to know that if you don't do this, because remember, these guys' lives, their officiating career part for this tournament is on the line. They screw up things, they don't move on. It's that simple. And so if you got somebody saying they probably if he's at half court and he hasn't been at half court all game, do you have leeway to ignore it? You might not. So
I got you.
So that's the thought process that I'm trying to get you to think about. So he and now, you know, probably you see him later and said this, that, the other, and he got to the Final Four, so it didn't matter. But you could probably, in a side note, if you ever wanted to, if you ever ran into that coach and say, Coach, we screwed that up. But at the time, I don't know that you have the ability to tell them that, especially if you think we got it wrong. I think sometimes we are too quick to tell everybody that we screwed up plays that we don't even know we screwed up. Because I thought I screwed up some plays, went back on the film and been like, damn, I was right. And then I've been on plays where I thought, oh yeah, I was so right about it. And then I could like, oh shit, that was horrible. So it's really how you watch film, which should help you on these plays. And I think what they did is they assumed because of where the ball went, that's what happened. It had to happen because the Division I player is not going to throw the ball to the score, the shot clock, or above the shot clock without the ball being touched, and they didn't rule a foul, so they're saying, okay, it wasn't foul. And you didn't make a case legitimately that he kind of pushed and got some space on the defender. I'm not saying call that. I'm just saying you could have made a case because someone will argue that that was the case. But those are kind of things that you got to consider. So I think, in my opinion, Tariq, you might have a different opinion, but I think if he crosses that line and makes it obvious for you, he made that call easy for them.
Yeah, I mean, I can answer it. Like, even if this was a preseason game, he come across half court. Even if he's come across half court and say, Tyreek, I like the way your uniform fit. Technical foul. That's a zero tolerance. Zero tolerance. No matter what he was saying, no matter what he was complaining about, he come across that half court line and not have a player on the floor hurt, technical foul. And if we don't call a technical foul, none of these referees moving on. And that's one of the things, like, I just had an evaluation call today for an hour with the Big Ten coordinator. And that's all they was talking about, is that I had a few calls this year where I got the second foul instead of the first foul. You weren't aggressive enough this year, and you got to do this, and you got to do that. I'm just like, what? So it's just, everything is so scrutinized that you have to make that call. That's not an option. And so, like, the way I've started refereeing, and a lot of times I used to preach a different story, but now I referee in a way of call the way the rules are written, because you can never go wrong with it. All of that trying to put our philosophy of officiating and our opinions and blah, 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 those days are over. Like, it used to be a situation where a guy gets hit on the arm, ball go right out of bounds, we just give the ball out of bounds. It's 25 cameras. We have to call a foul. He hit him on the arm, call a foul. So those are the situations where we have to change the way we officiate because of the cameras. And that's one of those plays where they didn't see it, but like Jeff said, 90% of the time the ball go up there, it's hit. So we're going to guess, and we're going to say it went out of bounds. It's unfortunate that now the ball stays white and now he gets a technical foul. It's unfortunate. Yeah. It's unfortunate, but him as a coach, he has to realize that all calls are not going to go your way. We're not perfect. We're going to miss some calls, and that's one we missed. But you can't go run up half court and talk. You just can't do it.
And you can't run up against Doug Sermons either, who's been in multiple Final Fours. You know, if you don't know who Doug Sermons is, I said, threw out John Calipari in the South Carolina game several years ago, who came up to him at the scorer's table, and he tossed him within 10 minutes of that game.
Yeah, but I don't. At that point, though, I don't think the referee kind of mattered. I think anybody who works Division I would tech him for that. I mean, I know that's just my opinion.
And I agree with you. And I agree with you.
Because if you don't tech them, you won't be working. You're gonna lose some games. And like that's just too obvious. Like there's not a.
Hey, Tariq, I'm glad you mentioned that, and it kind of goes back to what Jeff was mentioning earlier about doing things the way your assigner wants you to do things, or call the game a certain way, or whatever the case may be. You just mentioned a second ago about how, and this is referring to, you said you had an observation call with the Big Ten, and they said that you didn't make certain calls. You got the second foul, not the first foul, and in your mind, you felt like that wasn't true. So professionally, how do you deal with that? Because we've all been in situations where our assigner said, do this, that, and the other, and you thinking like, I did that. Like, what are you talking about?
Well, I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna tell you exactly what I said, and I'm gonna tell you exactly what he said as a Republican. So he started off the call and said, "I just want to be honest with you. I think you had a great season last year. This season wasn't so great." This is just what he said. I'm just like, damn. Okay, this is gonna be a long hour. So we go over a few games, and it was nothing serious. But he was basically saying that there's so much competition, so many good referees that you can't afford to get the second foul. So you're not where you were last year on my list. So now you move down. And what can I say? So I'm like, well, this is my rebuttal, which was stupid, which I didn't know what to say because I was so pissed because he said it. I'm like, well, Terry, this is my exact words. I'm saying, Terry, I'm a cop. I'm very aggressive. And I know I'm aggressive on the court. And then he said, well, the beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and I'm the beholder. And I was like, so I'm like, well, you're absolutely correct. And he's like, he said, well, you got anything else to say? I'm like, no, but I'm gonna work all summer on being aggressive. I mean, so it's like one of those things. And so then he said the last 2 years he go with the whole list. The last 2 years you had this many Big Ten games, and I gave you a hell of an opportunity, and you can't say I didn't give you a chance. And I was like, damn, well, am I fired? He's like, I'm not saying you're fired, but you're just not where you used to be. And I'm like, damn. So I don't know. So if you don't see me on some Big Ten games next year, you know why. You heard it from me first. But it's one of those things where you can think all day that you had a hell of a season. You can think you had a hell of a game. And it's all subjective. And I really wanted to ask you, you tell me which plays I missed, but you can't say that. So I'm just like, oh, okay. But, so he's like, well, I need you to go back and watch every one of the Big Ten games you worked. And I'm like, I worked 17. I'm like, okay, go back and work all 17 games, and I want you to break the games down and send it to me. I was like, oh, shit. So I got to do it. He might have been playing. He could have been playing, but you best believe I'm gonna do it because that's what you want. Okay, here you go. Even if he get it, he go, what the hell is this? Hey, you told me to break the season. Here you go. But like I don't know. It's real weird. But yeah, a whole hour of negativity for me today. So
well, I'm glad you. I'm sorry to hear that, but I'm glad you brought that up because I think
it's true.
People don't.
Hey, bro, you the best ref I know. So you all right. You all right. You the best ref I know.
Hey, look.
Sometimes you have to work, you get to, hey, I'm here, I'm in the Big Ten. So sometimes you have to work harder to stay there than you did to get there.
Absolutely.
Because
and I would just, and I could even say this, and this will go for every high school officials too. When you work certain levels, so if you used to work, and say you used to work in the suburbs, and you get your first public league game, it's 3 referees, higher level play, you never really not used to this type of play, you tend to try to wait and see what these 2 guys gonna call because you're like, well, it's not my level. So I'm gonna wait to see what they gonna call, and then I'm gonna fit in. And that's what he told me I did this year. And I'm just like, damn, but it's true. That's how I referee, because if I'm working with 2 guys, they work the Final Four, I don't want to be out there calling shit right in front of them, and I see it's a foul right in front of them. But I don't call it because I'm like, man, that's Del Turner's. But Terry told me today, you can't do that. You have to work your game regardless of who's on the court. Everybody got stripes on, regardless of what you worked last year, whatever you worked yesterday, you have to work your game. And yeah, that part of it, he had a point. Like if you gonna be here, if I put you here, you gotta do what they do. You can't be out there waiting to see what they're gonna do. Fucking call it. It's a foul right in front of them. Call it.
And let me say this because you know, I'm not on that scale, but I do work some Division II, Division III, and that's the attitude of the supervisors that I work for at that level. They don't care that I'm working with Tyreek in a Division I, in a Division III game or a Division II game. They want me to referee. So if I can't step up and be in the situation that, you know, because I might look at Tyreek and be like, dang, Tyreek, and I work for a couple supervisors that have Division I guys all the time. I'm often the only Division I guy that's not on the game. And when I do those games, I'm like, I got to be just as good as them and do stuff. And that's why I said I kind of talked about this. But Keith Kimball went through a whole thing about open looks and flat out told us, forget your primary. He said, your primary does not matter. He said, it's about an open look. Because if you have an open look on a play, and you don't call it, they're going to start asking questions about why you didn't call it and why did your partner not call it. And they're not going to care that you didn't get the play right. They're going to care that you didn't get the play right. They're not going to care who called it. No, the coaches and the supervisor and the media does not care that who got the call right. Call the play. So I say this because there's a lot of us at the high school and the lower levels that we get so caught up into, oh my God, it's my primary. Don't go with my primary.
That's not my call when they don't.
Oh, that's not my call, but you saw it. Now, and I'll tell you, in camp, they will even, when you go to the higher level camps, they'll be like, what all you three have? What'd you have? And now your answer might be, I'm out of position. I'm not in a good spot. I can't really see it. It happened on the other side. And that might absolve you. But then they might go to the other one and be like, well, why didn't you call it? You had a great look at it. It was right in your lap. Or you had an outside look at it. Why didn't you call it? And they'll make an evaluation just off of that answer. So when Keith Kimball went in this whole thing about open looks, it changed my way of thinking, because I even tell my partners now, guys, I don't care if it's right in front of me. If it opens up to you and curls to you, get it. Don't assume, because I'm not going to call these kind of plays if I can't see them. You get these plays and be aggressive. And it's changed the way I talk about calling plays. And I don't have the evaluations that Tyreek has, because we do get supervisors who'll send a video to us and be like, what y'all have on this?
And it's funny you mentioned that, Jeff, because I think that's kind of the nature, and Tyreek too, you too mentioning the situation. That's kind of the way the game is going from an officiating standpoint, where a lot of assigners I'm noticing are starting to say, yeah, the basic fundamental principles is to stay in your primary, call the obvious, referee the defense, yada, yada. But because a lot of these coaches, and this goes back to what Pam was saying, these assigners are working on behalf of the conferences or the schools. And guess what? These coaches are getting paid based on the calls that we make either correctly or incorrectly. They don't care about primary, secondary. They want, did you get the call right or wrong? Did that crew get the call right or they don't? If it's me, Jeff, and Tyreek, I don't care if the play is right in front of Jeff. They like, if you saw the foul, Clarence, call it. Even if Jeff don't call it, you call it. That's just the way it's shifting towards now. Now, as much as our fundamental principles go back to staying in our primary, we talk, like, don't call out your primary, stay in your primary. But unfortunately, some assigners are looking to say, hey, no, you got to get the call. Just get it right. I don't care who make it, just get it right. Because what they're saying is, we don't want to hear from these ADs and these coaches that's getting these salaries. Mm-hmm. That's what they're saying. So at this point, they like what we know our fundamental principle. I throw that out the window. Just get the call right. Period. That's what they want.
So now we have what's called cadence whistle.
Right.
And others, I saw that. Okay, let me give Clarence a chance to get it because it was right there. But we know it did actually happen. You have a cadence whistle. Get the call correct.
Listen, there was a game last year it was a championship game, and there was a play in transition where the center called a play on the low block in front of the lead. The play was on the lead side. I think it was table side. There was a push in the back or kind of on his side. The center came from a long way to get that call. The lead, you could even see in the video, gave a thumbs up to the center because he couldn't see the player behind him push the player on a play to the basket. And I think it was James Reading. It might have been a semi. He called a foul. And matter of fact, it showed up in the NCAA tape. They talked about this play and how the lead even gave the heads up, like, hey, that was a great call, because this idea of your primary is going completely out the window from the standpoint of just because it's in this little line that we got to help each other out. Man, even the past supervisor for the Big Ten used to talk about when we get close to the end of the game, our mechanics go out the window. He said it all the time, at least at camp. Well, I know, Tyreek. I'm just saying that's what
he was so great, by the way.
Well, either way, he used to say that. But the point that he was making was that if you don't call those plays, if we have a train wreck at the end of a game, you got to get that play right. It doesn't matter because this guy's in this position or that gal's in that position. Get the play right.
Can I add something? Since you brought it up, I just want to give everybody a perspective on how this really works. And I'm pretty sure at the high school level, it's the same thing.
It does.
Because I got brought in by that old assigner, I'm one of quote unquote his guys. So the scrutiny that I get is because, whatever. But it's just the way it goes. And they
get
try,
it.
I
said we get it.
Yeah. So like Pam said, it is what it is. I mean, I'm in the ACC too, so maybe I can. I'll be retiring this and give me an ACC.
They will see you on the Carolina Duke game or something.
I'll gladly work it, man. But that's one of the reasons, to be honest, at the high school level too. Anywhere. That's why, as we talked about earlier, it's so important to diversify your leagues, your conferences, whatever. Because if you only work for one person, and that one person, you and that person have a falling out, now what? Now you're gone. But because I work for 4 different consortiums, which is only 6 in the country, I work for 4 out of the 6 in the country. Lucky me, right? So I do have a little leeway to say, okay, hey, now do I want to do it? Not really, because I still have a real job and Big Ten is all around here. But I mean, if he's doing what he's doing or making up stuff because it is what it is, then I got to do what I got to do if that's what I want to do. But I mean,
that has happened to a lot of us, even at the high school level, because Steve Alexander left Southland and that changed the staff. So it's little things like that, and you never know when that's going to happen, and then you got to then prove yourself to the people because you might have been working for one assigner, you getting all these big games, and now the new assigner comes in, they don't know you, they don't like you, they're not your guy, and if you haven't noticed at the Division I level, it used to be guys were regional. Now you see these guys all over the country. I saw Jeff Anderson in 1 week work something in the ACC, the SEC, go to the Big Ten, work the Big Ten, go to the Mountain West, go to California, and he lives like in Virginia or Maryland somewhere.
Yeah, and just for those who are interested, I don't know, the Big Ten consortium did pick up the Mountain West this year too. So I don't think you knew that.
They did pick up the Mountain West.
Yeah, he told me today. He's like, yeah, we got the Mountain West, so there'll be some opportunities for you. I'm like, okay, send my ass to the West Coast. Oh, okay, cool.
And we got 4 schools from the West Coast coming into the Big Ten, so they need guys out that way anyway.
He said opportunities in the Mountain West. He made it clear, sir. Mountain West.
You knew what that meant, huh?
Hey, I'm like, okay. You and
a grizzly bear.
Hey man, look, the best part about it, I didn't get fired,
Right. You just working another consortium.
That's it. Another side of the world, but it's all
That's it.
You're still there. Stay in power.
That's it. Still there. If I gotta keep moving conferences, hey, I'm just gonna be all around. It's like a jigsaw puzzle. But yeah, it's what it is.
Well, everybody, I don't want to cut this too short, but we only got about 10 minutes left for this recording cutoff. But anything else, anybody, any questions or plays or scenarios or anything you guys want to talk about real quick? Or any situations, anybody? Anybody
Did you
got
guys
any-
by any chance see the NJCAA championship yesterday for the women between what was it, Washington and Kansas?
Mm-mm.
Well,
No.
you have an opportunity to look. It was really great, especially the last 2 minutes. Washington had won 3 out of the 4 years. Kansas had never won, and they'd been there 3 or 4 times. Well, make a long story short, the last minute of the game, it was 2.5 seconds left. Washington was up by 3, so everybody's like, "Oh yeah, 2.5. Who could lose the game in 2.5 seconds?"
Wow.
Okay, Kansas fouled Washington player. She went to the line. They were down by 1. She missed the first free throw, made the second. So now they're up by 3, whatever it was. They were up by 3. 2.5 seconds now. So Kansas gets the ball. They're bringing it up the court. Naturally, they're going for a 3, which she did. The player that just shot the free throw for Washington fouls her. She made all three free throws. The game went into overtime, and the underdog team, they won in overtime.
Oh, that's good stuff.
It was hey, the free throws count. Oh, and it was really exciting those last 2 minutes because you think, oh, who could lose a game? You up by 3, 2 seconds, come on. And they lost in overtime. She made those 3, and the girl that made the 3, she had committed the foul before that. She was real highly upset. She came down and made those 3. She got fouled. It was a fluke type foul because she was way beyond the 3-point. The player kind of like got her on the wrist, and you can see that on the replay. She went to the line, made all 3 free throws. They stopped crying, and then they ended up winning the game by 5 overtime.
Oh, yeah, that's dope.
But I'm saying that to say, you just never give up. And the officials were great. They did a great job, especially those last 2 minutes of the game.
Did anybody see
And then women get to advance the ball.
Yeah,
And
I'm glad you said that because did anybody see the end of the Tennessee South Carolina game in the SEC tournament? Because that coach from Tennessee got fired, by the way. And it was based off of a play that happened near the end where they didn't make free throws. So Pam said 3 free throws didn't make it, and then the girl might have double dribbled. I mean, this is how big it was. South Carolina's undefeated. Might have double dribbled. They get the ball. They foul her, so they don't advance it. But she made a decision, I guess, to not guard the big girl from South Carolina. They throw it to the big girl. Good girl hits a 3, bounce it off the leg, game over. And I say that because the Tennessee coach, who was alum, played for Pat Summitt, won a national championship. They fired her today or yesterday because she has not, come up to their expectation. So
and she got a $2.5 million buyout. She okay.
But the reason I say all of that is because we don't understand sometimes from the officiating standpoint the things that are on the line at these levels.
Now, Jeff, if you get a chance for the next meeting, clip that double dribble. It was not a double. I don't think.
I agree. I agree with you.
So
I have it. I already clipped it, but I already have.
Yeah, you got to have a control first and a controlled dribble. That was a fumble, caught it, and then dribbled again. But everybody
agree with you.
People were going crazy. I'm like,
fumble, dribble, fumble, legal.
Exactly.
No, I posted that because I wanted to see if people what we're going to say. Sometimes I like to see what people are going to say about plays, so that because there are people who are what I would call book officials who feel like they got to call all these little violations that are hard to defend, like because it looked like something. Let me call that instead of letting the flow of that happen.
Jeff, while you're looking at that, let me ask a question to the other officials. Okay. Would anybody, instead of us doing a camp and charging people this year, just me and Jeff, would anybody be interested in working the same games free of charge, just coming out? We'll come volunteer, critique you, and not the tournament not paying us for the officials. So we're trying to help him out, let him make some money, get the kids whatever, because they don't charge a lot of money. Nobody's gonna make money, but is anybody interested in actually coming to work before we commit to it and we can't get nobody?
Where is it?
Where is it at, Jeff?
We at Ridgewood we'd have a couple days of a
Yeah,
court,
Ridgewood High
and
School.
we may even be able to get some other courts in some other schools if it happens. I would be willing to take some games for some like at
when is
Glenbrook
it, Jeff?
South and
When
Loyal.
is it, Jeff?
It's in the middle of
It's good
June.
basketball. I'll go anywhere for good basketball, man.
It's really good, but I'm just saying we're not getting paid is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So it's like a camp, but it's a free camp pretty much. We're not getting
Yeah.
paid. You won't be getting paid. We just working games, critiquing, trying to get better.
But we don't have to pay. We don't have to pay.
No.
Correct.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
If it's good basketball, I'm in.
Right.
So the pay is our time. The pay is not.
So we usually charge for the camp, but since you all are part of the IAABO association, I'm willing to just do it for free and not, just.
Oh, not a problem. I just did. Oh,
Time and location for me.
Real quick before this cuts off, Jeff, someone wants us to teach a seminar on how to run RefQuest.
Wait, say that again.
They want us to do a training on how to do clip plays and do RefQuest and all that stuff, teaching people how to clip plays. I'm sure everybody.
Oh, I can do that as well. We can schedule a time specifically for that. It's not as hard as people think it is. It's actually pretty simple. But the reason I think it would be good for you to know this because you can clip these plays and then submit them to us to put on other platforms or to just get an opinion about it. Because to be honest with you, that's mostly what we need is an opinion about it. You might need an opinion just to see how to do it, but it's not really hard. But we can schedule a time that can be done. We can dedicate one of our meetings to that.
So maybe I don't know because I know this thing is about to cut off in a few minutes. Would you guys be interested in having another Zoom? Probably maybe this time next month, maybe or before the end of the month.
sure.
Yes.
Yeah, we can do one before the end of the month. We can do one before the end of the month, I think.
I think it's beneficial.
Okay.
Oh, absolutely.
So
absolutely.
We'll just
I learned a lot tonight. I appreciate you guys a lot.
Yeah.
And let me just say this too. Jeff and I have been have the opportunity of not only helping start with the IAABO chapter along with the rest of the veterans that have been here helping us, but he and I are also on the video committee for IAABO. So we're actually currently working on clipping plays for the 24-25 season. So between Jeff and I know we got a library full of videos. Trust me, that more videos than you can handle.
Right.
But,
and actually some of our videos got on the RefQuest. I posted several and they took them and used them. So and they still do that. So
and just so you guys know, I even reached out to IAABO and I was telling them that they got a bunch of great training videos. I said, but I noticed you guys don't have a video like about crew chief or like how to be a referee. Like what does it really take? And so I gave them a couple of bullet points. I literally gave them like maybe 3 bullet points in an email. And about maybe 3 weeks later, they sent me a video, 18-minute video talking about everything, what it takes to be a quality official. So I'm saying that to say that, they're very supportive of whatever we want, whatever we need. If you guys got questions about plays, if Jeff and I can get them to you, let us know. We can reach out to IAABO. They can send us, block charge plays or, airborne shooter plays or whatever, bench decorum plays, but most of them is going to be posted in your RefQuest account. So definitely check your RefQuest account.
And let's challenge everybody on the call. Everybody on the call, let's try to get 1 or 2 people to join.
Yeah.
Let's try to grow this thing, and it's for us. It's not for anybody else. Like none of us are going to benefit individually. We all going to benefit together. So
that's right.
Let's try to grow this thing and make it as big as we can get it, and see what happens.
And again, right now in the Midwest, it's the Chicago chapter that we just started, and St. Louis, I think, is the closest city to Chicago. So there's nobody in this Midwestern area other than those 2 chapters that have started an IAABO chapter. So we definitely, the market is wide open. Again, this is from the first year official to the veteran official. Anybody can join. Again, everybody reaps the same benefits. If to go to trainyourofficials.com if you want to send them the information. If they want to sign up, send me an email or let me know, call me, text me. or call Jeff, text Jeff, and we can get them the information so they can sign up. But thank everybody for being on the call. Hope you guys learned some stuff. I know Jeff and I talk about this all day long. We could do this in our sleep. Like,
They're right.
like I could be on here at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning doing this.
Not me. I got to get up, man. 4 o'clock in the morning. All right.
But we're here if you guys got questions about anything, you know, IAABO related, referee related, whatever. You got Tyreek, you got Pam, you got Tracy, you got LaRon. It's so many veteran officials that's in this group. Andre Barnhart. I mean, these are state final officials. So you got people with tons of experience. Probably together, we probably got over 1,000 years worth of experience to put us all together. So it's literally a lot of experience in this group. And I'm not, you know, I'm gonna be honest with you. I think we have probably the best group. You know, I'm just gonna be honest. I just think we do, because I think the best come out of the Midwest. This is my personal opinion, but that's just me. You know.
Hey, Clarence, when do you talk to Andre Barnhart again? Do you talk to him regularly, or do you talk to him from time
I
to time?
talk to him every now. I just saw him the other day, matter of fact.
Okay, to tell him the guy that forgot his pants at the game said hello. Just get his
That sounds like
tell
Andre.
you that story.
That sounds like Andre.
He mentioned that. He did mention that to me. He did.
Yeah. Downers Grove North, Oak Park River Forest.
Oh, wow.
Brother, I can just tell you this real quick. I was getting ready to go to the game, and I left something, so I put my bag right behind my car, you know, just before I put it in. So I ran back inside. I think I got my wallet, whatever, got back in the car and drove off. I'm Bolingbrook going to Oak Park River Forks. Okay. So I get out and I open up my trunk and my bag's not in there. So I'm like, oh shoot. So I run inside. It's Andre and another brother. And I'm like, hey guys, I got a little problem. He said, what? I said, I don't have my pants or nothing. He was like,
hey, I need you to unmute yourself. I need to see what this is, man.
It's me. And so I forget my pants. So I just like, oh, this is nice. So he says, like, oh, okay. He looked at me. He said, I'm about the same size. You're not. I'm all prepped, you know. And so I got some black shoes. He says, okay, well, I can let you use my pants. I got extra pants. I can't let you use my shirt because I got my state finals official on there. He said, I said, all right. So the school gives me a shirt, and so we go out, we start the game. I talked to AD, and I called my wife because I said, hey, baby, I got a problem. And she had her day off planned. And I said, hey, I left my bag. I need you to bring it. And so she jumps in the car. She runs it up there. I tell the AD what's going on. She's, you know, the young lady, she says, who's this lady? I give her my phone. So I said, my wife gonna call you with my bag. So she says, this lady's not gonna be very happy with you when she see me. I said, no, she's probably not. So she gives the car. So we go start the game. You know, we get the game started and everything. By that time I got my bag, but it all worked out. It was a
Wait, did you leave this at the house?
Huh? Yeah, I left it at the house. I drove all the way to my game. Took from Bolingbrook to Oak Park River Forest. Got there, had nothing. Didn't have a whistle or nothing. They pieced me together, and we got out there, and we had a heck of a game, though, brother. It was a good game.
Well, okay, everybody. This thing's about to cut off on me. So
take care.
Just want to thank everybody for participating tonight. This is being recorded, so I'll share back out with everybody as well. Jeff, I know Jeff is going to follow up with some camp information. So make sure you take advantage of that. Again, definitely seek out a mentor and you know, don't just go to anybody's camp, but definitely get your information, do your research before you go. But definitely sign up to a couple of camps this summer if you get a chance. I know the Federation should be coming out with new rule changes around May or June.
May. Usually the first or second week of May, and I might be able to find out some of the information about what was discussed in the meeting. There's a guy that I've touched base with that is on the committee, so he might be able to give us some insight of what is happening or what the rule changes are.
Right, and just FYI, one of the IAABO interpreters, he's in another chapter across the country, but he actually sits on the National Federation board as well for basketball. So he kind of reveals a little information ahead of time too. So definitely thank everybody for being out here. Hope you guys have a great evening. We'll follow up with you with another email with the next meeting, unless you guys want to pick a date now. I don't mind, but we only got 1 minute and 45 seconds. So
Well, you can stop the recording. Just stop the recording.
Well, it's still gonna cut off though.
Oh, okay.
For like 3 hours or something like that. So.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
So,
Okay.
yeah, but thank everybody.
3 hours go fast.
Yeah, it was 3 hours.
Especially when you're
Yeah.
having fun.
Wait till you talk to them on the phone. Clarence,
Exactly. When you have a good conversation.
We talked the other day for 6 straight hours and didn't realize it was that long.
Damn.
I know.
I don't talk to my wife that long. Yeah,
we were talking basketball.
Yeah, that's me. That's me and Chris May. Chris May will be talking for.
Oh, Chris can talk. Chris
can talk.
He can out talk you too.
Yes, he can.
He can talk.
Yeah. Okay, everybody. But thanks again. Have a great evening. Everybody be safe, and we'll be in touch with you real soon.
All right.
All right.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. It was great.
Peace.